The Divine Pill Plaza was quickly filled up. It was square like a chessboard and was filled with disciples. Normally, this place was used as an exam room for the Divine Pill Division's disciples. This allowed them to pick out the most outstanding disciples and give them greater benefits. Normally, each disciple would have a huge space between them and others. But today, there were only 2 large platforms set up in the center. Yi Qian was already seated on one. He had his eyes closed in meditation. Compared to his previous appearance, he looked like a completely different person. Yi Qian really is skillful. Once he focuses on his alchemy, he can instantly reach a perfect mental state, whispered Wan Qing. Although she didn't like him, she had no choice but to admit that he was shockingly talented at alchemy, even more so than her. Senior Feng Fei has also come, exclaimed Xin Chengfeng. Following his gaze, Long Chen saw a small empty area. Everywhere else was filled with people, but that one spot only had Feng Fei and a dozen attendants revolving around her. Even amongst that group of beautiful women, Feng Fei stood out. Feng Fei looked back at Long Chen, seemingly with some surprise. She most likely hadn't known that Long Chen could refine pills. Beside her, an attendant was whispering something to her. Her eyes were also locked on Long Chen. Most likely, she was giving Feng Fei some information on him. Looking around, Long Chen noticed that the ones who had come were the young disciples of the divine families. He didn't see members of the senior generation. The Pill Doyen had appeared on the overseeing platform. It seemed he was very interested in the upcoming competition. Big brother Long Chen, you have to win. Wan Qing was still nervous. If he lost, the consequences would be worse than if he was killed. Don't worry. Have you forgotten? Your big brother Long Chen is a warrior of the starry sky. I'll pluck some stars for you in the future, said Long Chen. Wan Qing smiled. She was no longer that foolish girl from back then. Even though she now knew that the story had been nonsense, she was still happy. For an imposing hero like Long Chen to make up stories to amuse her as a child warmed her heart. Long Chen slowly walked over to his platform. Since one was already occupied, it went without saying that the other was his. As soon as he walked in, people began whispering about him. They had clearly investigated who he was. How can a frog at the bottom of a well who hasn't seen the world be qualified to challenge senior apprentice brother Yi Qian? Suddenly, loud voices began to ring out over the crowd. That's right. With senior apprentice brother Yi Qian's honorable status, how can a dog or cat challenge him? He's clearly using this opportunity to elevate his own status. What a sinister person. Whether he wins or loses, he benefits. Despicable. Shameless. Low-bred. The ones speaking were people wearing the robes of the Divine Pill Division. They were practically directly cursing Long Chen. Long Chen shook his head and walked onto his platform. This seclusion of mine lasted for 23 years. Who would have thought that the disciples of my Divine Pill Division would end up getting so energetic? Not bad, said the Pill Doyen. The division head began to sweat. The Pill Doyen was not happy. He hastily said, Qian'er is the strongest alchemist of the junior generation and is viewed as an idol by his peers. Now that someone has provoked him, those disciples naturally feel dislike for Long Chen. Dislike means being allowed to spit on others? Why don't you look at Long Chen's expression? If this spreads further, it will lose the face of the Divine Pill Division. If Long Chen loses, it will be recoverable. But if he wins, it won't just be a slap in the Divine Pill Division's face but also in the faces of all the divine families. In my opinion, it seems that the position of division head needs to be replaced, said the Pill Doyen slowly. Senior Pill Doyen? The current Divine Pill Division looks flourishing from the outside, but the disciples are too hot-tempered and egotistical. They don't know how to exercise restraint. They are unable to reach the pinnacle of the Pill Dao, and that includes you. You've already walked down the wrong path. You have yet to understand the words I told you before I went into seclusion. The Pill Doyen shook his head disappointedly. Everyone shut up. What do you think you're doing by spouting such vile words in public? The division head shouted, and the disciples cursing Long Chen instantly fell silent as if they had been slapped. Pill Doyen, the division head looked at the Pill Doyen. We'll discuss it later. Carry out the competition. I essentially already know the result. said the Pill Doyen. The division head helplessly nodded. Just at this moment, an elder of the divine families appeared on the stage. This competition is being personally presided over by Senior Pill Doyen. Once it starts, there will be no room for regret. Are the participants ready and willing? Yi Qian smiled and confidently said, yes. Long Chen also nodded. The elder continued, based on the agreement, Long Chen must pick one of the pill formulas contained within the divine pill hall for this competition. Go ahead. The elder sent an exceedingly ancient-looking beast hide over to Long Chen. It was covered in tiny characters. Over 10,000 pill formulas were written on top of it, all of them over the 10th tier. But only 873 were of the 12th tier. Since you wanted me to choose, then I won't stand on courtesy. Today, let us refine the life and death reincarnation star pill. Long Chen pointed to one of the formulas. When the name of the pill was announced, everyone turned deathly silent. The elders and disciples of the divine pill division were especially shaken. Yi Qian sneered, what nonsense is that? The life and death reincarnation star pill requires the alchemist to have a cultivation base in the 4th step of nether passage. It requires Samsara power to refine. Can you refine it? Asked Long Chen. I naturally can't, but you definitely can't either, snorted Yi Qian. You can't refine it? Alright, then I guess that this competition is over. Pay up. Long Chen walked off his platform and extended a hand. What are you talking about? Demanded Yi Qian. He started to get a bad feeling. You can't refine it and I can't refine it either. This competition ends in a draw. According to our agreement, if there's a draw, you have to pay me 20 million points. So, big boss, pay up. Many thanks. Long Chen smiled. That smile was definitely sinister. In the distance, Wan Qing covered her face, not wanting others to see her laugh. That would be rude. She had also underestimated Long Chen's treachery. Yi Qian had essentially been scammed from the start and had fallen for its hook, line, and sinker. Shen Chengfeng and the others were amazed. This really was sinister. Without doing anything, he had ripped a chunk out of Yi Qian. Just going up the platform and coming off was enough to earn him 20 million points? You! Yi Qian's hair stood on end. He hadn't expected Long Chen to be so sinister. What? Are you backing out on your promise? No way. There's Senior Pill Doyen here overseeing everything as well as countless people watching. Long Chen made a show of looking over the giant crowd. Long Chen. The division head's expression also changed. Shameless. Despicable. Low-bred. Get the fuck out of the divine families. Someone like you isn't fit to stay here. Every disciple present began to shout. They had originally been anticipating a competition between behemoths. They wanted to see how Yi Qian would beat Long Chen and show the might of the divine families. But instead, Long Chen used such a sinister trick? Long Chen ignored their cursing. He looked at the sky, even extending a hand as if encouraging them to continue. He just wanted Yi Qian's money. Being wrong isn't disgraceful. What's disgraceful is being wrong and not admitting to it, instead blaming others. I already said that one must be responsible for their own actions. Treat others as you wish them to treat you. That is the way to open your mind and create a greater path for yourself. However, you didn't understand what I said 20 years ago. Not only have your own alchemy arts not progressed, but you also grew obstinate and opinionated, resulting in you raising such a herd of disciples. The Pill Doyen shook his head at the division head. His tone was flat, as if nothing could make him angry. But the division head was sweating. Although there was no master and disciple relationship between him and the Pill Doyen had given him many pointers and had had high hopes for him. It could be said that despite the lack of a formal relationship, they were no different from master and disciple. However, this informal master of his was extremely disappointed in him. Disciple knows what he must do. The division head nodded and suddenly stood up. Seeing him take a stand, quite a few of the disciples began to cry for him to uphold justice. Senior division head, Long Chen is a swindler. Kick him out. Trash like this actually dared to challenge senior apprentice brother Yi Qian. He's not even fit to carry his shoes. How can such a person just be expelled? He has blasphemed our sacred alchemy arts. He needs to be executed. All of you shut up. The division head's voice rang out loudly in those disciples' ears, causing them to instantly shut their mouths. Yi Qian, you were the one who made the bet. Having a loophole you left exploited is your own fault, and if a person wishes to gamble, then they have to be willing to lose. Do you not know what you have to do? The division head shouted at Yi Qian, causing him to turn green. But Yi Qian was extremely aggrieved. What buts? A man's word must be kept. Are you going to go back on the terms of the bet? Demanded the division head. Yi Qian was astounded. Ever since he had taken the division head as his master, he had always treated him even better than a son. But now he was suddenly acting like this. Hence, Yi Qian clenched his teeth furiously. Fine. I admit defeat. But I don't have that many points on me right now. I'll have to trouble Senior to help me out with a loan so I can repay it later. 20 million points. That was a frightening amount. Who would carry that many points on them? Even the First Legion's yearly income, including the rewards that the divine families gave them, was only 15 million points. 20 million points was enough to turn anyone's eyes red. When a crystal card landed in Long Chen's hand, all the experts present felt sour. 20 million points had landed in his hands just like that? That kind of swindling was intolerable. This Long Chen really is sinister. Against someone who only knows how to refine pills and has no experience with the rest of the world like Yi Qian, Long Chen can easily play him to death. Elder Long and the deputy elder were watching the scene. Elder Long couldn't help feeling that it was funny. It doesn't matter if it's a sinister scheme, above-board play, or something that cannot be seen. As long as it's a victory, it's a good move. The deputy elder smiled. But the curious thing is why the senior Pildoyan is personally bearing witness to this. Is he really just going to watch as his disciple is scammed? Wondered Elder Long. It's not curious. The Pildoyan is one of the few people that I admire. He is infatuated with the Pill Dao, using it to peer into the heavenly Daos. His dedication is admirable. Long Chen's little tricks cannot possibly escape him, said the deputy elder. Then why didn't he give a warning? Why would he? Speaking is an instinct, while not speaking is wisdom. Do you think that it's a coincidence that Yi Qian ran into Long Chen? No, someone set it up. Everything is within the Pildoyan's control. Watch closely. Your character is a bit similar to the Pildoyan's. Try to learn from him, and you might find your chance to make a breakthrough, said the deputy elder. Many thanks for the pointer. Elder Long hastily bowed before falling silent and continuing to watch. Long Chen smiled widely upon receiving the crystal card. His eyes were like slits from how wide his smile was. He cupped his fists. Many thanks for your patronage, boss. I wish you a long life of fortune. Well, I'm busy, so I'll take my leave. Long Chen swaggered away. That appearance of his really made people want to beat him to death. But the people of the divine families couldn't find a reason to do so. They could only endure, suffering so much that it seemed like they were about to injure themselves. Suddenly, flames exploded out of Yi Qian as he lost control of his pill flame. Long Chen, you coward, do you dare to have an honorable competition with me? Did we not just do that? Through that extremely narrow battle, we managed to end up drawing, with neither being above or beneath the other. Long Chen cocked his head back at him. That was no competition. Are 20 million points enough to satisfy you? If you beat me, you can have all my 100 million points. I'm not a greedy person. 20 million points is enough for me. If I need more money, I'll definitely come find you, don't you worry. After all, such a good boss is hard to find. Long Chen turned his back around. Seeing him walking away just like this, Yi Qian suddenly took out a colorful orb. Heavenly flame orb? The division head's expression instantly changed. He was about to say something when the Pildoyan waved his hand, indicating for him to stay silent. Flame energy filled the air. It was thrumming as if it was bowing to the orb. Even Long Chen was shocked. There was a kind of flame fluctuation coming from that orb, one capable of suppressing all flames in this world. Within his body, Hua Long instantly woke up, expressing that it had to have that. What is that? Asked Long Chen. Yi Qian sneered. It seems that you don't recognize this. It is a priceless treasure from another world. It is called the Heavenly Flame Orb and is a divine item from an ever higher plane. The strongest flames of the martial heaven continent are the earth flames. The inverse Dao water spirit flame that you possess is ranked number 1 amongst the earth flames. But earth flames are not pill flames. They are violent and not easy to control. Only subrate alchemists would use them. True alchemy masters have their own inheritances for their pill flames. My heaven-gathering blood flame and the pill fairy's white void flame are such inherited flames. They are created through the efforts of countless generations. These inherited flames are not inferior to your earth flame when it comes to alchemy or battle. Most importantly, they are one with our bloodlines, allowing us to use them easily. Stop nattering and get to the point. My understanding of alchemy is far greater than yours. What is that thing? Interrupted Long Chen. This fellow actually wanted to start using his learning to win back his lost dignity. This heavenly flame orb contains the essence of a heavenly flame that lies above the earth flames. It is said to have flowed down all the way from the immortal era. Although the energy inside it cannot be directly absorbed, just allowing your pill flame to rest inside of it will purify it, and over a long time, it will increase its power and maybe even mutate it. This is a truly priceless treasure. The divine families only possess 3 of them, while this is one of them. So, do you want to gamble? Demanded Yi Qian. That's a good treasure. If you really want to give it to me, I don't feel good declining. But I want to know, will you cry if you lose? Asked Long Chen. What a joke. As long as you win, this heavenly flame orb will be yours. It's just up to you to see if you have that ability, sneered Yi Qian. Shen Chengfeng and Wan Qing stood there with the 8th Legion. Shen Chengfeng shook his head. This Yi Qian has gone crazy. He wants to beat Long Chen no matter the price. However, both of them seem so confident. I wonder who is actually better. Yi Qian was the number 1 genius of the Divine Pill Division, but he never appeared outside. There were signs that he was surpassing his master. Among the so-called geniuses in the same generation, none were fit to even carry his shoes. That had resulted in his arrogance. As for Long Chen, he was not a pure alchemist. For such a person to challenge the divine family's number 1 alchemist should be a joke, but the more he was in contact with Long Chen, the less he saw through him. That confidence of his made it seem like there was nothing in this world that he couldn't do. Wan Qing didn't say anything. She was still worried for Long Chen, because she was profoundly aware of just how frightening Yi Qian was. Everyone's focus was on Long Chen. They were all anticipating him accepting this battle. In their eyes, as long as he accepted, he would definitely lose miserably. That would win back the lost dignity of the divine families. Fine, since you want to lose so badly, I'll accept this heavenly flame orb. I'll treat it as a tuition fee, said Long Chen. When Long Chen walked back onto the platform, the divine family's disciples cheered. They all knew that Yi Qian was about to win. Hold it, shouted Yi Qian. What? You want to just directly accept defeat? That would be best. I'm pretty busy, so you can just give it to me now. Long Chen extended a hand. Are you a fucking idiot? Yi Qian almost coughed up blood. He roared, I've taken out the heavenly flame orb, so you have to increase the stake as well. What do you want? Asked Long Chen lightly. A poor ghost like you doesn't have anything good. I'm only doing this to show the uncivilized people of the martial heaven continent what true alchemy arts are, sneered Yi Qian. Long Chen shook his head. What big words. Are you not afraid of choking yourself when you have to swallow them? Pill Valley possesses the inheritance of true gods and their alchemy arts. Although I am their enemy, I admit that they are the true masters of alchemy. As for you, what right do you have to call them uncivilized? I really don't know how your master taught you. The Pill Dao requires one to control their temper. Alchemists must associate with fire, but they cannot allow that fire to affect their character. To refine pills is to refine the heart. When the heart is not present, any pills refined will lack spirit. For me to compete with you is practically bullying you. If it weren't for that heavenly flame orb, I wouldn't bother. But I will give you one last chance. If you regret it now, you can take it back. Otherwise, once you lose, don't blame me for bullying a child. I don't need to think about it. If I lose, you get the heavenly flame orb. If you lose, other than returning the previous 20 million points, you also have to use your tongue to clean up every brick here. Do you dare? Roared Yi Qian. What child's play? Fine, I agree. What will we be competing with? Long Chen shook his head disdainfully. He hadn't been planning on beating Yi Qian too badly, but he had just changed his mind. Speak. I'll let you choose how we compete. You can choose what you're best at. Long Chen tossed the beast hide to him. Of course, you can also choose the same one that I chose. That will be your only chance to draw with me. Long Chen's confidence was finally starting to shake some of the divine family's disciples. Was he really so assured? Or had he simply accepted his fate? As you're the guest, I will leave the right to choose to you. You can choose any pill other than the life and death reincarnation pill. I will beat you at your strongest pill to show you how outclassed you are, sneered Yi Qian, tossing the beast hide back to Long Chen. Yi Qian had his own pride and confidence. Other than the life and death reincarnation pill, he was confident on everything else on the list. Fine. I didn't want to pick because I don't want people to say that I bullied you. But since you don't want to pick either, we can have others pick. Long Chen tossed the beast hide to the overseeing elder. The elder caught it, confused. Long Chen suddenly threw out 3 small fruits. They landed amongst the distance crowd, smattering 3 people with blood-colored juice. The 3 of them jumped and began wiping, only to find that their faces were already dyed red. This is the blue flower blood fruit. Long Chen. This was a medicinal ingredient. The flower was pure blue, but the fruit it bore was as vividly red as fresh blood. Without a few months' time, there was no way for the color to fade once it touched someone's skin. It wasn't poisonous, but it enraged them. Just now, you 3 were the ones shouting the loudest from the Divine Pill Division. Now I'll give you a chance to get back at me. Each of you, pick a number between 1 and 10, said Long Chen. Why should we? Long Chen, you are provoking the Divine Pill Division. Shut up. Pick a number, ordered Yi Qian. 5. 9. 3. The 3 of them extremely unwillingly picked a number. They hated Long Chen to the core now. Their only desire was for Yi Qian to trounce Long Chen. 5, 9, 3. That's what you 3 picked, and I wouldn't possibly collude with you. Everyone can see their hatred for me. There's no chance of me cheating, so this number wasn't something anyone could have picked beforehand. Examiner, I'll trouble you to read out the name of the 593rd pill, either from the front or the back, up to you, said Long Chen. Everyone realized that Long Chen had done this to make sure that no one would have any advantage over the other when it came to the pill chosen. The pills on the list were not listed according to their difficulty to refine. Instead, they were listed based on when they were discovered. As a result, the difficulty was random. The 593rd pill is... The examiner started to read, but his expression changed slightly. The 100 Dao Merger Spirit Pill. The name of this pill left most of the disciples confused, but the disciples of the Divine Pill Division sucked in cold gasps of air. That was an extremely difficult pill, requiring not just a powerful flame but also an enormous amount of spiritual strength. Other than the normal requirements for refining pills, it also required the ability to inject heavenly Dao energy into the pill. In truth, it could not be considered an ordinary pill. It was a pill that possessed an innate spirituality. The heavenly Dao energy that nourished it during the refinement would result in it having its own spirituality, a spirituality that was qualitatively different from the spirituality bestowed upon a pill as a result of pill lightning. Long Chen, you'll definitely lose. This 100 Dao Merger Spirit Pill is not only one that I can refine, but it is also one of the pills that I excel most at refining. Let's just see how you embarrass yourself. Yi Qian laughed heartily. Senior apprentice brother Yi Qian really is amazing. Not only can he refine the 100 Dao Merger Spirit Pill, but he excels at it as well? How will this bumpkin compete with him? How can such a person even be compared to senior apprentice brother Yi Qian? That would be an insult to senior apprentice brother Yi Qian. Hee hee, I want to see how Long Chen crawls on the ground and barks. Thinking of how arrogant he was, I can't wait. The Divine Pill Division's disciples seemed to already be able to see the conclusion and were all growing excited. Wan Qing shook her head. Are all the disciples of the Divine families so stupid? How are they going to survive the embarrassment if Big Brother Long Chen wins? Is it so satisfying to be slapped by your own words? Cough, Fairy Wan Qing, let me just correct your phrasing. It's not all the disciples of the Divine families, it's the disciples of the Divine Pill Division, said Shin Chengfeng awkwardly. Oh, sorry I misspoke, said Wan Qing. She truly had misspoken by lumping in Shin Chengfeng and the 8th Legion with them. Shin Chengfeng smiled. It's fine. The current Divine Pill Division is like this. Although they look to be flourishing, they're too arrogant. We don't like them, but they are alchemists that the Divine families need, so we have to let them be arrogant. If you walk by them, they might be in a mood and curse you for being rude, as if not bowing to an alchemist is a huge offense. I've wanted to slap them myself in the past, but I don't have Long Chen's guts. The disciples of the Divine Pill Division were so arrogant that the other disciples avoided them. It wasn't that they were afraid of them, but that they were worried they wouldn't be able to hold themselves back from beating them. Many of the regular disciples of the Divine families were quite satisfied to see Long Chen slap their faces. While they didn't believe that he could win, they wouldn't mind seeing him slap their faces again. A couple of disciples appeared carrying precious medicinal ingredients. They were then arranged on the platforms. There were over 700 ingredients, and 3 sets, indicating that both of them had 3 chances. Considering that you are refining the extremely difficult 100 Dao Merger Spirit Pill, which takes a great deal of time to refine, and adding on the pressure of so many people being present, you would normally be given 3 days. However, there are too many Empyreans present which will naturally affect the surrounding heavenly Dao energy. As a result, we have extended the timeline to 5 days. Are the 2 of you prepared? If you are, then we can start at any time. The examiner took out a large hourglass. As long as the 2 of them nodded, the time would start counting down. Let's start. The sooner we start, the sooner it's over. After I take that orb, I still have more things to do, said Long Chen. Yi Qian sneered and didn't reply. He simply nodded to the examiner. Then let the competition begin. The hourglass's runes activated. Dark red sand began to fall from the top. Yi Qian took a deep breath. He instantly seemed to become a different person. His arrogance, his wildness, his tyrannical air, they all vanished, replaced with a calm serenity. It almost felt like he had been acting before. Once senior apprentice brother Yi Qian starts refining pills, he enters a perfect state of forgetting everything other than the refinement. I'll probably never be able to reach such a perfect realm, said one of the Divine Pill Division's disciples worshipfully. Even though he could also be classified as a genius of alchemy, he was not in the same realm as Yi Qian. Yi Qian's master, the division head, looked at the pill doyen. Qian is capable of calming all his emotions once he starts refining pills. It's very difficult for a young disciple to reach this level. Even many senior alchemists cannot do this. Yi Qian was his pride. He treated him better than a son, and he didn't spare any effort in raising him. To be able to have such a disciple, he felt that any regrets that he had could be entrusted to him. He was proud to have raised such a disciple. He looks calm on the surface, but that does not represent that there are no fluctuations in his heart. Even if the surface of the water is calm, what if some outer power were to interfere? The pill doyen didn't praise Yi Qian. The division head didn't know what to feel about that. Having the pill doyen not look favorably upon Yi Qian made him feel terrible. But the pill doyen's position in the Divine Pill Division was supreme. Are you unconvinced? Just watch, said the pill doyen with a faint smile. The division head gloomily continued to watch. He suddenly smiled coldly. Yi Qian seemed to have forgotten Long Chen. Blood-colored flames were currently enveloping one of his ingredients. That ingredient was melting at a speed visible to the naked eye. The impurities were gradually expelled. At the same time, a strange fluctuation came from within Yi Qian's body. That fluctuation seemed to have some accordance with the ingredients. The void shook. Seemingly without using any techniques, the surrounding heavenly Dao energy began to naturally merge into his pill flame to assist in his refinement. This was the most amazing thing about an inherited flame. Due to the bloodline inheritance, it was easily controlled, and through the nourishment of countless generations, it was already accepted by the heavenly Daos. When the flame appeared, the heavenly Daos followed. An inherited flame is a true pill flame. It cannot be considered on the same level as earth flames. As for Longchen, Tisich, from the moment he accepted senior apprentice brother Yi Qian's challenge, he had already lost, sneered one disciple. Every time I see senior apprentice brother Yi Qian refine pills, I feel like prostrating myself toward him. To enter this state of forgetting everything but the pill Dao is something I'll spend a lifetime trying to reach. Those disciples weren't sucking up. They really did feel worship for Yi Qian's abilities. Why isn't Longchen moving? Does he have no idea how to refine the pill? Who knows? That might be normal considering what a dismal place the martial heaven continent is now. That's fine. In any case, senior apprentice brother Yi Qian will definitely be the one to win. We just need to see how Longchen embarrasses himself. Who has any hopes of witnessing his alchemy arts? While the other disciples of the Divine Pill Division didn't have any interest in seeing Longchen's alchemy, Wan Qing, Shen Feng, and the others were all looking forward to it. But they were nervous now. Could it be that he really didn't know how to refine it? Otherwise, why wasn't he moving? The 100 Dao Merger Spirit Pill was something that Wan Qing had come into contact with before, but she had never refined it. The Pill Fairy had said that with Wan Qing's current power, she was still unable to refine that pill. Longchen was simply sitting there, watching Yi Qian refine his ingredients with interest. It was unknown what he was thinking. In the distance, Feng Fei frowned. She was frowning not because of Longchen, but because of the Divine Pill Division's disciples who were nattering. "Have them shut up," said Feng Fei to one of her attendants. That attendant immediately walked over to those disciples and shouted, "Shut up! If you keep shouting, Senior Feng Fei won't be able to focus on watching. If fawning over others could increase your power, then there would be no need for anyone to cultivate." After saying that, she walked back without even looking at those disciples again. Just that one shout was very effective. Those disciples gloomily looked at Feng Fei, but they didn't dare to say another word. Things fell very silent. The silence was refreshing, as if a group of houseflies had been swatted. The other disciples not of the Divine Pill Division looked at Feng Fei gratefully. Only she was able to suppress these fellows. Everyone looked at the center. Yi Qian was reaching the final moment of refinement for his first ingredient. Even Yi Qian had to be careful with such difficult ingredients. The requirements for the flame control were extremely high. Longchen calmly looked at Yi Qian. He suddenly asked, "Brother, what's your surname?" "I'm surnamed." Yi Qian began to speak without thinking about it, but his expression then changed. The precious ingredient that had reached the final part of refinement suddenly exploded due to the distraction. "Bastard!" raged Yi Qian. Longchen had once more played a treacherous con against him. "Bastard? What a strange surname. I've never heard of such a name. Ah, so you aren't part of the Yi family. Your full name is Bastard Yeqian. Now I understand. I'm Longchen. Nice to meet you." Longchen cupped his fists toward him. The Pill Doyen indifferently said, "This is your so-called perfect state of forgetting everything but alchemy? This is Longchen's con. Such a thing would never have occurred otherwise," said the division head, also dumbfounded. How had Longchen managed to pull Yi Qian out of that realm with just a question? Longchen didn't do anything. He didn't use spiritual strength, spiritual yuan, or the power of his astral space. He simply asked a very normal question at the moment of Yi Qian's flame change. Yi Qian's spiritual fluctuations were slightly scattered due to how careful he was being, resulting in him being distracted by this simple question. Have you not taught him that when he focuses, he has to relax? At most, 70% of his mental energy should be concentrated. He had already passed 95%, so he had no way to react at all to Longchen, instead responding instinctively. "Is this how you teach your disciples?" The Pill Doyen's expression finally grew severe toward the end. The division head could finally no longer bear it. "Senior Pill Doyen, Long Chen is being sinister and intentionally harming Qin. Instead of criticizing Long Chen, you're blaming me and Qin. Aren't you?" The division head didn't have the guts to finish his sentence. "Favoring an outsider?" The pill doyen suddenly laughed. "After living for so many years, you've grown more and more immature. Let's ignore any favoritism for now. Tell me, with such concentrated mental energy, how is an alchemist supposed to handle the sudden invasion of a heart devil?" "But Qin doesn't have any heart devils. He has never run into any setbacks," argued the division head. "He doesn't have one now, but what about in the future? Are you planning on looking after him for a lifetime? What about when you die? Or are you planning on bringing him with you? Your pampering is not helping him, it is harming him instead. Even if he doesn't run into a single setback his entire life, does that mean that he won't have a heart devil? There's no point in saying these things. Just watch." The pill doyen sighed. The division head's expression was ugly. He placed all his hatred over this matter onto Long Chen. "Long Chen, how can you be so despicable? If you think you can beat me this way, you're wrong. You're definitely going to lose." Yi Qian suddenly burst into flames, using this method to block Long Chen from his sight. He restarted his refinement. After a while, Long Chen stood and stretched his waist. He yawned. "Yi Qian, as an alchemist, I need some music to get in the mood. I'm sure you won't mind." Long Chen beckoned to the 8th Legion's warriors. In front of countless shocked gazes, the warriors began to take out drums and gongs. Ear-piercing sounds rang out like blades in people's ears. The experts present instantly shot up, cursing. But their cursing was drowned out by the music. Yet again, the flame in Yi Qian's hand went out of control. The medicinal ingredient he had been refining exploded. "Long Chen, what do you want?" roared Yi Qian. His voice was hoarse with rage. Long Chen waved his hand. The 8th Legion's warriors immediately stopped. Seeing how murderous the gazes of the other disciples were, they hastily put away their instruments. "Long Chen, you are absolutely despicable. You aren't fit to be an alchemist," roared one of the Divine Pill Division's disciples. Long Chen had used despicable means to ruin Yi Qian's refinement twice now, angering them. Even the elders were angered, along with the other disciples of the divine families. He was treating them as monkeys to toy with. As long as the pill doyen gave the order, they would be happy to pounce and tear Long Chen to pieces. Despicable? Isn't this all your own fault? I had no enmity with the Divine Pill Division, so why was I dragged here to gamble with this fellow? Are you blind or stupid? As soon as I arrived here, you mocked and ridiculed me to affect my mental state. Was that not the same thing? Now you say I'm not fit to be an alchemist? Then how are you fit to be alchemists? I've seen shameless people, but not people as shameless as you. Long Chen's words left those people at a loss for words. He turned to the furious Yi Qian. "Little fellow, you should thank me as well as the fact that you have a good senior. Otherwise, you would be screwed for this lifetime." Long Chen suddenly waved his hand. The medicinal ingredients before him flew into the air. A ball of lightning struck them, turning them to ash and shocking everyone. They looked at his table to see that he had destroyed 2 sets of his ingredients, leaving him with only 1. Even Yi Qian was stunned. He had destroyed the same ingredient twice, leaving him with only 1 chance as well. Now Long Chen had returned them to an even playing field. He didn't know what to say. The others who had called Long Chen despicable were also dumbfounded, not knowing what to say. Using my real abilities to defeat you isn't worth my time normally. These little tricks are beneath me as well. The reason I am doing this is because I've accepted your tuition fee, said Long Chen. Bring out your full abilities. Show me what supports your arrogance. Long Chen clasped his hands behind his back, no longer looking crafty and sinister. Instead, there was an indescribable confidence and domineering aura coming from him. Leaving us both with 1 chance is because I'm busy. We now have 1 set each and can bring out our true skills, said Long Chen indifferently. He had completely changed. Now that he was serious, he definitely possessed the air of a master. Then I'll show you. Yi Qian's fury and arrogance finally faded. Now he understood that like himself, Long Chen also had absolute confidence. If he continued like this, the one to lose in the end might be him. Yi Qian waved his hand. An ancient pill furnace appeared before everyone, and every alchemist present grew envious. The Dragon Phoenix Cosmos Furnace. I'm finally getting to see this priceless treasure in person. All the Divine Pill Division's disciples stared at it, and the cry of a phoenix and dragon could vaguely be heard. Clouds began to gather in the sky, with heavenly Dao energy surging over. This was an extremely ancient divine furnace. An alchemist using it would find refining pills much easier. Take out your pill furnace. If you don't have one, I don't mind giving you one, sneered Yi Qian. Although he now viewed Long Chen as an opponent, he couldn't hold back his rage at being conned thrice, in addition to having his throat held inside the treasury. I really don't have a good pill furnace. Why don't you give me one? Long Chen also sneered. He waved his hand, taking out a pill furnace that was covered in rust and looked worn down. Everyone was silent, but then the Divine Pill Division's disciples began to laugh. What a poor ghost. He's actually using such a rusty furnace to compete with senior apprentice brother Yi Qian? Why not just take out a chamber pot? Feng Fei frowned. One of her attendants was about to stand again, but Feng Fei shook her head. These fools don't even know what a priceless treasure that is. In a bit they'll know how blind they are. Even the elders of the Divine Pill Division were startled. What was Long Chen thinking by using such a broken furnace? Was he trying to insult the Divine Pill Division? However, the Pill Doyen's body shuddered. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The Moon and Star Refining Furnace? Is this real? The Pill Doyen actually stood and walked over to Long Chen. Senior, you recognize the Moon and Star Refining Furnace? This time, it was Long Chen's turn to be surprised. He hadn't expected someone to recognize it. Of course I recognize it. How could I not recognize the leader of the ancient era's 10 great pill furnaces? The Pill Doyen respectfully rubbed the Moon and Star Refining Furnace. He sighed. The ancient records state that the Moon and Star Refining Furnace's final master was Yan Qingsheng. In a battle alongside the sovereign, the alchemy grandmaster Yan Qingsheng fell, while the Moon and Star Refining Furnace was broken. Who would have thought that the ancient records were wrong? It is still present, but it's badly damaged. Although its soul has gradually awakened, it's still a very long way from being fully restored. This was Long Chen's first time hearing most of this information. He hadn't known that the Moon and Star Refining Furnace's origins were even greater than he had thought. It was the head of the 10 great pill furnaces of the ancient era. Right now, its soul was too badly damaged, and he could only communicate with it simply. An item spirit was different from a human, and its core was badly damaged. He hadn't expected that this cauldron that the mechanism sect had sent his way thanks to the Dongfang family would end up profiting him so immensely. Long Chen, if you are interested, my Divine Pill Division will give you a nice price for it, said the division head. As soon as he said this, killing intent appeared in Long Chen's eyes. He vanished, appearing in front of the division head and grabbing his throat. Do you want to try repeating what you just said? Long Chen's sudden hostility made everyone jump. Furthermore, did he not realize he was holding the throat of the division head? With his left hand holding his throat, Long Chen's other hand was pressed against his chest. Destructive power thrummed in his palm. As long as he released it, the division head would be blasted apart. The division head was furious at this. He had just asked if Long Chen wanted to sell his furnace, but Long Chen somehow became crazy. He didn't dare to do anything, afraid that Long Chen would really kill him. Alchemists were not martial cultivators. They had very weak bodies, and a lack of battle experience meant that even a fourth-step nether passage alchemist could be easily killed by Long Chen at such a close distance. The various experts present began to take out their weapons, surrounding Long Chen. Everyone, stop, shouted the Pill Doyen. He turned to Long Chen. Long Chen, my apologies. He is not a martial artist and doesn't know certain rules. On account of this old man's face, can you forgive him this one time? The Divine Family's people didn't dare to believe their ears. The Pill Doyen was actually apologizing to Long Chen? Had the world gone insane? Long Chun gloomily tossed the division head to the side. On account of Senior Pill Doyen's face, I'll let you off. If not for him, even if the master of the divine families came, I'd still kill you. Free from him, the division head furiously shouted, You dash! The Pill Doyen said, Shut up. This is the result of your own ignorance. In the divine families, our pill furnaces are all inherited, so you don't know the rules of the outside world. A pill furnace with its own spirit like the moon and star refining furnace will not easily choose a new master. Once chosen, it will not find another master unless the previous master dies. The master of the pill furnace is the same, and they will protect their pill furnace with their life. You wanted to buy his pill furnace without even understanding this. That's one of the gravest insults. If Long Chun said that he wanted to buy your wife, what would you do? The division head fell silent. He hadn't heard of such a thing before. The other members of the divine families also came to an understanding. Seeing that the division head really hadn't known about such a rule, Long Chen's expression softened slightly. Just now, he had really wanted to kill him. Thanks to the Pill Doyen's explanation, the misunderstanding was cleared up. But even if he had been mistaken, the division head couldn't apologize to a member of the junior generation, especially not after Long Chen had grabbed his throat and made him lose face. The Pill Doyen sighed. The moon and star refining furnace was actually damaged to such an extent. That battle must have been terrifying. Yan Qingsheng was a grandmaster of the pill Dao. Of the current pill formulas used in the world, hundreds were created by him. He was able to progress the techniques of ancient alchemists and innovate new ideas, allowing future generations to become closer to the pill Dao easier. It can be said that he is a monument in the history of alchemy, someone with unmatched contributions to the path of alchemy. Most admirable of all, even when the Dark Era came, he chose to participate and died in battle. While it saddens me that he died, his heroism is moving. Many thanks for informing me about the history of the moon and star refining furnace. Its item spirit is still too injured and just woke up. It was unable to tell me about this history. Long Chun cupped his fists. For the moon and star refining furnace to accept you as its master means that you are definitely a match for it. Well, it seems that I've said too much. The competition can continue. The Pill Doyen looked once more at the moon and star refining furnace before returning to his seat. Everyone was deathly silent. Those disciples of the Divine Pill Division in particular felt a fiery hot sensation on their faces. Their blind mocking had now turned into a giant slap in their faces. Yi Qian looked at the moon and star refining furnace. He was unable to tell what was so amazing about it, but the Pill Doyen's words were still ringing in his ears. The leader of the 10 great pill furnaces of the ancient era. As for his Dragon Phoenix Cosmos furnace, although it was a priceless treasure, it wasn't qualified to enter the top 10. In fact, its history could not be traced back to those times. Long Chen, if you dare to get an idea about my pill furnace, I'll kill you right here. Don't test my bottom line. At such a close distance, no one can stop me from killing you, said Long Chen preemptively. No matter how famous the moon and star refining furnace was, he had never viewed it as a tool. It was one of his companions. If someone wanted him to use it as a gambling chip, it would be one of the worst insults. Yi Qian snorted. So what if you have a good furnace? Its body is broken and its item spirit has yet to fully awaken. You can't beat me with that. Yi Qian suddenly patted the Dragon Phoenix Cosmos furnace. 2 pillars of divine light soared into the sky, intertwining like a dragon and phoenix. A medicinal ingredient entered his pill furnace. He was finally starting his alchemy, and the atmosphere tensed once more. Long Chen also didn't continue talking. He placed a hand on the moon and star refining furnace, causing translucent flames to begin dancing inside. He needs to warm the furnace? These are rudimentary techniques. Is he really a master of alchemy? Long Chen's actions could be considered standard. There was nothing outstanding about them. Many disciples of the Divine Pill Division did not need to go through the process of warming their furnaces first because they had reached the level of having their heart be one with their furnace. When they wanted to refine pills, the pill furnace would automatically warm up on its own and enter a refining state. On the other hand, Yi Qian was already refining his medicinal ingredients. His spiritual strength was flowing in smoothly, and the images of a dragon and phoenix above the furnace were growing clearer and clearer. His flame control was perfect. That control was something that no other disciple of the Divine Pill Division was able to achieve. The title of the Divine Pill Division's #1 genius was not for nothing. Even Wan Qing had no choice but to admit that she couldn't find one flaw in Yi Qian's alchemy arts. The only one whose alchemy could surpass Yi Qian was the Pill Fairy, so Wan Qing didn't have very high hopes for Long Chen. Furthermore, after warming the furnace, Long Chen began refining his first ingredient. Everything he was doing was simply standard, with nothing to praise. As for the moon and star refining furnace, it was still deathly silent, looking to be powerless. Sneers began to ring out all around him, but Long Chen wasn't listening. He was now focused on his alchemy. What they were saying was something about how, other than looking like a master, everything about Long Chen's alchemy was in line with an amateur. Long Chen's already lost. His inverse Dao water spirit flame might be the #1 earth flame, but it seems that he cannot fully control it. There are many impurities he has failed to expel in his ingredients, said one of the elders of the Divine Pill Division. With his vision, he could clearly see that the impurities had not been fully expelled. For an ordinary disciple, that level of purity could be considered excellent. But it was still lacking in their eyes. After all, Long Chen was facing Yi Qian. Yi Qian had an inherited flame, and even without a pill furnace, he was capable of refining ingredients without leaving the slightest trace of impurities. As for Long Chen, even with the assistance of a pill furnace, he was unable to achieve the same level of purity. It made them wonder if Long Chen himself was this weak, or if his pill furnace was too badly damaged. Most inexplicable of all, it seemed that Long Chen was unaware of the impurities remaining in his refined ingredients. He was focused on refining more of them. For the moon and star refining furnace to land in his hands really is a waste of a treasure. One elder sighed sadly. For the head of the 10 great pill furnaces of the ancient era to fall into such a novice's hands was truly sad. Well, another elder opened his mouth, only for the elder beside him to glare at him and make him shut his mouth. They glanced toward the pill doyen, but the pill doyen didn't seem to be listening to them. He was focused on Long Chen, seemingly pondering something. Most people's gazes were concentrated on Yi Qian. He was elegantly refining, with his flame undergoing 1,000 transformations every second. Both alchemists and martial artists were capable of learning various things from his display. As for Long Chen's movements, there was nothing spectacular about them. 99% of the people here didn't bother to look at him anymore. Even if they did, it was only to sneer. Feng Fei was beginning to frown. One of her attendants said, "How about we leave? This competition is entirely just Yi Qian showing off. We're wasting our time." Feng Fei hesitated before shaking her head. "Let's just keep watching. We're already here. I still feel like this Long Chen isn't a good person. Why would he jump into such an obvious trap?" "That's true. I've investigated his history. I can't even count how many people he has conned to death," said that attendant. Feng Fei was naturally irritated that Long Chen had essentially kicked her out last time when the 8th Legion had reclaimed their camp. He hadn't given her any face. As a result, she had decided to investigate him to find what kind of person he was. The investigation had shocked her and her attendants. His history was practically a miracle. But during his growth, he had also used many evil moves. In the Xiantian Monastery's disciple selection, he had kicked someone into a river and pissed on him. There was a time he had conned a whole group of people, only to step in and reap the jade butterfly queen bee honey. He had dug a hole and had the Dragon Blood Legion crap into it, all for drawing someone with mysophobia inside of it. There was too much of his mischief to count. The con of the 3rd Legion was nothing compared to his past cons. As a result of this, they had labeled Long Chen a sinister and wicked fellow. Such a person wouldn't just jump into someone's trap for no reason. That was why Feng Fei wanted to see the conclusion even if she was bored now. There were many ingredients to purify, which took a great deal of time. The slightest mistake could ruin everything during this process. This was why every alchemist's spiritual strength needed to be strong. Time passed bit by bit. Refining hundreds of different ingredients was a huge labor that didn't allow Yi Qian or Long Chen to slack off. However, people gradually came to notice something curious. Yi Qian's movements were all beautiful and perfect. His dancing flame's efficiency was extremely high. On the other hand, Long Chen's actions were slow and clumsy. Yi Qian's refining speed should have far surpassed his, but somehow, they were still refining the same ingredient at the same time. Although Yi Qian would pick up his next ingredient first, Long Chen would always follow. The speeds of their refinements were equally matched. No matter how Yi Qian tried, he was unable to shake off Long Chen. At this time, people started to sense something, and looking closely at Long Chen's movements, one person sneered. To keep up, he hasn't managed to purify many of his ingredients. What nonsense! These disciples didn't have the vision of the elders. After all, they didn't have that much experience. Only now did they notice that Long Chen's refined ingredients still had a trace of impurities in them. The disciples of the Divine Pill Division grew even more spiteful of Long Chen. In pursuit of speed, he was leaving impurities in his ingredients. That was so foolish that there was no cure for it. The result was obvious. Time quickly passed. Long Chen's movements continued to look dull. No one paid further attention to him. Just refining all the ingredients took 3 days, but in the end, they finished at the same time. Yi Qian snorted and formed a hand seal. His medicinal powders began to merge together inside the pill furnace one by one. His flame energy soared once more. A dragon and phoenix revolved around his pill furnace. Long Chen followed suit. He began sending his medicinal powders into the pill furnace. He's using his hands. When people saw that Long Chen was using his hands to send the powders inside the pill furnace, the alchemists almost staggered. Was that not the technique of an amateur? Even a new student should be able to use their spiritual strength to send the powders inside the furnace. What was Long Chen doing? If Long Chen's actions had seemed lackluster before, it was understandable. But what was this for? Was it an intentional insult to the divine families? The Divine Pill Division's disciples grew angry once more. Let's just see how long he can act arrogant for. When the results are in, will he still be able to act that way? I'm looking forward to seeing him bark like a dog and clean the bricks, sneered one of them. Suddenly, Yi Qian's pill furnace rumbled. He had closed the lid. A dragon and phoenix cry resounded through the world. The world's energy formed a giant vortex around his pill furnace. It was a shocking sight that made the other alchemists' blood heat up. The moment that every alchemist anticipated the most was about to arrive. Long Chen has also closed his lid. When did that happen? Asked one person suddenly. Long Chen had also reached the final stage of his refinement at some point. He's just messing around. Who cares? Sneered someone else. All their focus was on Yi Qian. All the heavenly Dao energy is gathering around senior apprentice brother Yi Qian. Long Chen hasn't managed to absorb a single trace. There's no way his pill will form, said another disciple coldly. Although Long Chen had closed his lid, there was no phenomenon of absorbing the world's energy. With Yi Qian present, his pill couldn't absorb any heavenly Dao energy. The competition's conclusion was already clear. At this moment, Long Chen's worn-down pill furnace finally began to light up, and the rust spots ignited. Suddenly, a starry sky appeared around everyone. What? In that instant, all the experts involuntarily stared at the moon and star refining furnace, filled with shock. The moon and star refining furnace, which had been silent this entire time, suddenly began to shine. Stars appeared in the air, and it was like an entire cosmos was whirling around the furnace. This sight finally drew people's attention away from Yi Qian. Long Chen was still calm, but the fluctuations of the moon and star refining furnace were growing ever stronger. The rust and worn-down areas of the furnace were still present, but they were no longer able to cover up the pill furnace's divine light. A ripple suddenly spread in every direction from the moon and star refining furnace. It was a gentle power that passed through the entire plaza. People felt the soft energy ripple by them. After flowing out, the ripple faded. Things fell silent, with people simply staring in confusion. After a while, the moon and star refining furnaces stars began to move according to a set pattern. The flame fluctuations grew hotter. Flames enveloped Long Chen, and a wave of heat made the experts present feel like they were being roasted. This idiot. He's actually using such a violent flame just as the pill forms? The outside will be damaged, while the inside won't be evenly heated. It would be crazy if the pill even condenses at this rate, sneered an alchemist. This was the action of a layman. Did he think that he was cooking food? Just at this moment, rumbling rang out. Tribulation clouds appeared in the sky. Senior apprentice brother Yi Qian has finished his pill. The heavenly Daos have sensed it and are unleashing pill tribulation. Yi Qian's pill furnace was trembling. His 100 Dao merger spirit pill was about to come out for its tribulation. Ah, Long Chen, I'm done. You've lost, laughed Yi Qian. He shouted, bring down the heavenly tribulation screen. The plaza became covered by a translucent barrier, and his pill furnace instantly called down. This barrier was made for blocking pill tribulation. The pill tribulation wouldn't be able to sense the pill, and the pill wouldn't be able to sense the tribulation. After that, the lid opened and a wild spotted tiger came roaring out. Heavens, a top-grade spirit pill form. Even without heavenly tribulation, it has its own spirit. Senior apprentice brother Yi Qian is so powerful. Every spot on this tiger contained its own Dao charm. The tiger itself was so powerful that a single roar from it shook their ears. Ha, Long Chen, now are you convinced of your loss? Yi Qian stood. Light shot out of his furnace, forming a net that bound the tiger. However, it didn't return to its original shape. He was clearly showing it off. Yi Qian himself was very proud of this refinement of his. Although he had refined the 100 Dao merger spirit pill before, he was surprised to find that today's pill was the best quality he had ever refined. The Divine Pill Division's disciples cheered thunderously at the sight of the tiger, while even the elders were shocked at Yi Qian's advancements. The division head smiled proudly. Yi Qian was his disciple, and Yi Qian's accomplishments were his pride. He silently glanced at the pill doyen, expecting to see praise on his face, only to find that the pill doyen wasn't even looking at Yi Qian or the 100 Dao merger spirit pill. Instead, he was looking up at the sky. It was unknown what he was thinking. Long Chen, don't you think it's time to admit defeat? Stalling for time will only show how much of a coward you are. Even if you manage to condense a pill, it will at most be middle grade, a defective product. You've lost miserably, said Yi Qian proudly. Everyone looked at Long Chen. Starry sky was still revolving around his furnace, but nothing else had happened. In terms of alchemy, Long Chen isn't even fit to carry senior apprentice brother Yi Qian's shoes. He should hurry up and admit defeat. Yes, just kneel and start barking like a dog. The bricks here are quite dirty, and we're anticipating your performance. What are you waiting for? Long Chen, are you planning on backing out? I'll really look down on you then. Wan Qing was pale, with Shun Chengfeng feeling helpless. Although they had felt that Long Chen would lose, this result was still difficult to accept. Long Chen suddenly smiled and pointed at the sky. It would be best if you put away your pill now. Otherwise, your joy might turn into sorrow. Long Chen, have you gone mad from your defeat? Don't stall for more time. In front of my absolute power, your little tricks are a huge joke. Yi Qian suddenly trailed off. Due to Long Chen, people were looking at the sky, only to see something strange. Due to the activation of the barrier, the aura of the 100 Dao merger spirit pill had been hidden from the heavenly tribulation. So why were the tribulation clouds still present? The disciples of the Divine Pill Division were bewildered. This had never occurred before. Boom. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning slammed down from the heavens, blasting away the tribulation clouds and striking the barrier. Cracks instantly appeared throughout the entire barrier. It looked as if a second attack would shatter it. What's going on? Strengthen the barrier. Qian, put away the 100 Dao merger spirit pill, shouted the division head. Turn off the barrier. At this moment, the pill doyen's voice rang out over the chaos. What are you talking about? The division head stared at him in confusion. Yi Qian didn't need a reminder. He immediately put away his pill, but there was no sign of the tribulation clouds dissipating. Instead, they only grew denser. Lightning began to condense inside. In the end, they formed 5 giant vortexes of different colors. Heavens, isn't this 5-colored lightning? I thought only a few rare cultivators could face such a tribulation. Has senior apprentice brother Yi Qian's alchemy skills already progressed to the point of finding an unprecedented pill lightning? Heavens, just what level has he reached? He's in a completely different world from us. To be able to witness such a heavenly genius is enough meaning for this lifetime. Yi Qian was also staring in shock at the 5 vortexes of pill lightning. He hadn't expected this pill to result in such a disturbance. Pill lightning was something common to the divine pill division, but there was no record of 5-colored pill lightning. Master, I wish to borrow the power of this tribulation to cleanse my 100 Dao merger spirit pill. Even if it's a failure, I wish to experience it. This is not just an opportunity to me, but all my fellow disciples, shouted Yi Qian to the division head over the thunder. The division head nodded. This heroism filled him with pride. He looked to the pill doyen, expecting him to encourage Yi Qian. If the pill doyen wasn't present, he would already be allowing Yi Qian to go through with it. The pill doyen looked at him oddly. He hesitated for a moment and then sighed. Have Qian retreat. This pill lightning isn't his. What? The nearby elders almost fell to the ground from their shock. If this pill lightning wasn't Yi Qian's, then? They stared in disbelief at Long Chen. Their expressions were extremely odd. Master, are you worried about this 100 Dao merger spirit pill? I was able to refine one, so I can refine more. To exchange one pill for valuable experience in alchemy is worth it to me and the rest of the divine pill division, shouted Yi Qian, thinking that the division head was unwilling to lose the pill he had just refined. The division head's expression grew extremely unsightly. He didn't know how to reply. The other disciples of the divine pill division were cheering Yi Qian's name. Their worship for Yi Qian had reached an unprecedented point, filling him with pride. If the division head were to tell him at this moment that this pill lightning wasn't his, then the impact to him. It seems that your master is too embarrassed to say it. Fine, I'll trouble you to move out of the way. My pill is about to come out of the furnace, and the tribulation is waiting for it. Long Chen looked at Yi Qian sorrowfully. The cheering came to a sudden stop. Everyone looked at Long Chen with shock. The cheering in the plaza, which was even louder than the thunder, was like the cause of millions of crows. However, at this moment, those millions of crows were all killed. Yi Qian felt like he had been slapped. He turned to look at Long Chen and then at the terrifying pill lightning gathering in the sky. Impossible! Yi Qian screamed. This pill lightning wasn't his, but Long Chen's? He refused to believe it. Long Chen's display from the start had been mediocre. How could this pill lightning possibly be his? You don't believe it? Then I'll explain it. Your pill lightning was already smashed apart by my 5-colored lightning. This tribulation now has nothing to do with you. Do you not see that the eye of the tribulation is pointed at me? Long Chen pointed at the center of the 5 vortexes of lightning. There was a shape similar to an eye there. The 5 types of energy were slowly pouring into that eye. A sharp lightning sword condensed there, pointing at Long Chen. How? How is that possible? The divine pill division's people were filled with disbelief. Only the pill doyen had been staring at the tribulation lightning the entire time, seeming to be pondering something. If you don't get out of the way quickly, I won't care if the lightning splits you apart. I don't really care about your life or death, but hand over what you wagered first. If not, please write a will, said Long Chen. Suddenly, the 5-colored lightning sword condensing in the eye of the tribulation shot toward Long Chen. The world rumbled as that sword screamed through the air. Although it was clearly pointed at Long Chen, everyone felt a sharp pain in their souls. Boom! The lightning sword pierced through Long Chen and his furnace. It exploded, transforming into streams of lightning that spread in every direction. Just as the lightning sword exploded, Yi Qian finally flew back. However, he was one step too slow, and the lightning brushed against him. Blood-colored flames covered his body, but they were unable to fully protect him. He was sent flying, his face pale. Blood leaked out of his mouth. Yi Qian didn't care about this injury. He was pale because of his defeat. Pill lightning was the best way to appraise the quality of a pill. It was the fairest, most impartial method with no way to cheat. His pill lightning had been destroyed by Long Chen's pill lightning. His pill lightning was like trash that had been kicked aside by Long Chen's pill lightning. The division head caught Yi Qian and patted his shoulder, transmitting, "Don't worry, Long Chen won't necessarily be able to pass this tribulation. If he fails, you'll be the winner." These words were clearly refusing to accept defeat. If Long Chen's pill really was destroyed by the pill tribulation, he would be unable to bring out a pill, so he would be defeated. But that would be a mocking victory for Yi Qian's pride. He was unable to accept such a thing. His expression was extremely ugly. The moon and star refining furnaces' stars absorbed the power of the lightning, causing its light to grow stronger. Another bolt of lightning fell from the sky. This bolt was double the power of the first, causing the expressions of everyone present to change. This terrifying tribulation was filled with the will of annihilation. Even a third-step nether passage expert would be killed. These disciples were unable to say a single word. Ignoring Long Chen's alchemy arts, the fact that he dared to allow this terrifying lightning to strike him directly was enough to shake them deeply. This terrifying tribulation, which would kill others in one move, was being ignored by Long Chen as if he didn't even feel it. The lightning continued to grow stronger. Every attack contained the power of annihilation that was part of the heavenly Daos. In front of this power, the power of man felt incredibly minuscule. However, no matter how powerful the lightning grew, Long Chen continued not to do anything. It seemed that he was waiting for something. The moon and star refining furnace was growing brighter and brighter, while the stars were revolving faster and faster. Finally, it felt like something had awoken within the pill furnace. A boundless aura slowly rose. "This aura? What is going on?" asked one of the Divine Pill Division's elders. This completely toppled their understanding of alchemy. For the aura of the pill to only appear now, didn't that mean it had only condensed at this moment? But for pill lightning to come, it should have been formed from the start of the tribulation. Everyone looked at the pill doyen. With so many gazes on him, he finally said, "This is another way to refine this pill. The most important part of the 100 Dao merger spirit pill is the merger aspect. The Divine Pill Division has 17 ways to refine it, but there is one that has never managed to succeed, so it was discarded and forgotten. That is why you only know 16 ways." I coincidentally saw the 17th technique in the hidden scripture pavilion in an abandoned storehouse. At that time, I felt that the principles behind it were too ridiculous to be feasible. It seemed to be the crazy raving of some senior who had indulged in fantasy. It could not be used in reality, but today, my eyes have been opened to the world. "What is this method?" asked the division head. The scripture stated that our current techniques for refining the 100 Dao merger spirit pill all depend on luck. To absorb the energy of the heavenly Daos to condense the pill's spirituality does not depend on the alchemist, but on the mood of the heavens. We cannot absorb more energy than the heavens are willing to give us. As a result, while the final quality of the pill is affected by the skill of the alchemist, it also depends on the mood of the heavens. The top-grade pill that Qian refined truly is not bad, but a large aspect of that was luck. Who can say when the heavens will be willing to give more energy or less? If they're lucky, the pill will be good. If they're unlucky, the pill's quality will be inferior. But what about the pill that Long Chen is refining? Long Chen's method is the one mentioned in that scripture. It is to rely on a person's power instead of luck. He is grasping every part of the heavenly Daos himself and merging them into the pill, said the pill doyen. That's impossible. No one can control the heavenly Daos. Not even a god. Although there were those such as Heavenly Fate Island capable of reading the ephemeral flow of fate, those sects could only vaguely grasp a few things from the future and calculate probabilities of certain events occurring. That was not the true heavenly Daos. No one could truly read the heavenly Daos. From ancient times to now, No one had ever managed to fully grasp the heavenly Daos. This is a question that perhaps only Long Chen knows the answer to. All I know is that the 100 Daos that he gathered into his pill were missing one. He merged 99 Daos, leaving the final one to be the Dao of Annihilation within this pill lightning, said the pill doyen. That explanation was something that would have been scoffed at if said by another. But he was the pill doyen, the true number one of the divine pill division. How was it that the Dao of Annihilation could be merged into a medicinal pill? The Dao of Annihilation within pill lightning was used to destroy medicinal pills. Wasn't that contrary? Furthermore, if that was the case, who would possibly consume such a pill? Would it not be poison? There were plenty of ways to kill oneself, so there was no need to make it so complicated, right? Perhaps the pill doyen understood, but he didn't seem to be in the mood to explain it any further. He was focused on Long Chen, clearly not wanting to be disturbed. Everyone fell silent once more, simply watching as one giant lightning sword after another fell upon Long Chen. The aura of the pill inside the moon and star refining furnace continued to grow stronger. However, after a short while, the division head's expression changed. The runes on the bricks of the plaza were starting to dim. That meant that the lightning was exhausting their energy. No need to worry, said the pill doyen before the division head could give orders. The lid to the moon and star refining furnace slowly opened. A strange fluctuation came from within. The experts present sensed their own auras within that fluctuation. What is going on? Just at that moment, a fist-sized pill flew into the sky. The heavens rumbled. The 5 vortexes of lightning merged together into a supreme vortex. Following that, a tempest of lightning arrows rained down upon the pill. What is that? How can it be so big? When they saw that pill, everyone was surprised. It was even a bit bigger than an adult's fist. Even giant pills were only the size of a baby's fist, so the size was definitely off. Furthermore, the pill was black and covered in thick veins. Its appearance was definitely not that of the 100 Dao merger spirit pill. Lightning arrows rained down from the tribulation at the pill. Long Chen actually made no move to stop them, simply allowing them to strike the pill. Shockingly, those vein marks on the pill actually lit up and blocked the tribulation. The lightning shattered on contact with it. Is that really a medicinal pill? People were unable to believe their eyes. That black ball seemed to possess the aura of a medicinal pill, but they didn't sense any of the fluctuations of a spirit pill. It was just a black ball hanging in the air motionlessly as it was struck by lightning. Long Chen stood beside it. He was also not reacting to the lightning arrows. Ever since his last tribulation when Sovereign Mo Li had stabbed him with his sword, he found that his internal organs that had been blasted apart had become stronger after recovering. Lightning was no longer able to invade them. Even Long Chen didn't know if this was a gift that Sovereign Mo Li had given him. This level of tribulation was nothing to Long Chen. As for Lei Long, it didn't even have a desire to consume this level of lightning. It had also gotten picky, and lightning that wasn't strong enough was no longer worth consuming. Seeing him standing so indifferently in the face of this lightning assault, one of the divine family's young women suddenly said, "You know, Long Chen isn't actually that hateful. He's pretty handsome." As soon as she said this, the surrounding male disciples glared at her, causing her to shut her mouth. However, even though they didn't like Long Chen, they had to admit that the current Long Chen was definitely attractive. Everyone's gazes were attracted to him, but he seemed completely unaffected by them. People suddenly realized that his expression also hadn't changed when they had been taunting him. He didn't seem pleased or dazzled at all. It was a stark contrast to how Yi Qian had seemed after refining the 100 Dao merger spirit pill. One acted as if he was unmatched in the world, while another was silent. According to reason, this was the best moment for Long Chen to mock the people that had taunted him, but he didn't say anything. Those disciples of the divine pill division felt like they had been silently slapped by his disdain. The tribulation continued to grow stronger, until crunchy sounds began to come out of the pill. The pill's going to break. Cracks appeared on the pill. Everyone looked at Long Chen, only to see him watching indifferently. Finally, the lightning grew so strong that the pill couldn't endure it. Pieces of it began to fall off. What? When the black pieces fell off one by one, people found that inside was a red pill that had been covered by a black shell. The black shell was the pill veil. If the pill veil is already so powerful, then how powerful is the actual pill? A pill veil was not rare. Many people would refine a pill veil to protect the pill. That was to maintain the medicinal energy within the pill and make sure that it didn't leak outside. A pill veil was normally very weak, but Long Chen's pill veil was strong enough to block this terrifying lightning. When the red pill appeared, the tribulation grew stronger once more. An incense stick's worth of time later, it also began to crack. What? This is also a pill veil. Shockingly, when the red exterior shattered, it revealed a violet pill inside. The red layer was also a pill veil. 2 layers of pill veils? How did he do that? One of the elders of the Divine Pill Division cried out in shock. It was hard enough to refine a single pill veil while refining the pill, so the concept of refining 2 was so difficult that it only existed in theory. No one would ever do such a thing in reality. By the point that a pill veil was refined, the pill was essentially finished. There was no need to take the risk of destroying the entire pill just to create a second layer. The lightning grew stronger again, growing berserk as if it had to destroy this pill. The violet pill suddenly exploded into powder, making everyone jump. One of the disciples suddenly laughed. Haha, it was a failure. Just as he laughed, he realized everyone was looking at him like they wanted to slap him. Even enemies wouldn't laugh at other alchemists for having a pill fail a tribulation. This kind of display was a complete disgrace. It isn't a failure. That violet layer was also a pill veil. Just what kind of pill did Long Chen refine? A pill the size of a baby's fist appeared within the violet dust. It was as white as jade, glowing like the moon. The plaza was illuminated by its sacred light, making people feel like they were in a daydream. How beautiful! Some of the female disciples couldn't help sighing in wonder. The 5-colored pill lightning in the sky suddenly condensed. It transformed into one giant 5-colored sword the size of a mountain. It had condensed the full power of the tribulation. Then it whistled toward the pill with endless destructive power. Boom! A hand reached out and caught the lightning sword, shattering it. It transformed into lightning runes that filled the plaza. The pure white pill was immersed within the sea of lightning runes. Suddenly, runes lit up all over it. Flower petals began to bloom beneath it. The petals began to absorb the lightning, growing larger and larger. Every petal represented a Dao. Looking closely, there were 99 petals. They supported the pill like stars around the moon. Everyone was straining their necks just to get a better look. The lightning faded, leaving behind that sacred flower. At the center of that flower was a pure white pearl. This sight was deeply imprinted within the minds of everyone who saw it. It was a sight that they would remember for the rest of their lives. Yi Qian was pale. Seeing that flower, he was unable to say a single word. It felt like he had lost his soul. He had lost, and very miserably at that. He had never imagined that he would lose to someone from the same generation. Furthermore, the difference was so immense. Everyone was silent. The Divine Pill Division's disciples didn't dare to say a word. Now there was a trace of reverence in their eyes when they looked at Long Chen. His pill Dao had reached a height that they couldn't even hope of reaching. They were the ones unqualified to carry his shoes. When they thought back to their mocking, they realized just how ignorant and childish they had been. They didn't dare to say a word because their faces hurt too much. Although many people were questioning whether this was really the 100 Dao merger spirit pill, they were afraid of further slapping their own faces. Long Chen waved his hand. The petals around the pill faded, and it floated over to Long Chen. When it landed in his hand, the radiance filling the world vanished. Looking closely, people were able to see ripples within the pill that seemed to be manifesting some kind of Dao charm. It was as if the pill contained its own world. Marvelous! I didn't expect to be able to personally witness the birth of an Earth-rank top-grade tribulation pill. Finally, the pill doyen stood and clapped. Senior is praising me. This 100 Dao merger spirit pill cannot be said to have reached the Earth rank due to not having its spirit awaken yet, said Long Chen. Awakening the spirit should be nothing more than lifting a hand to you. You're too modest. The pill doyen smiled. Long Chen returned the smile. Not continuing on that topic, he hesitatingly asked, Senior, I'm embarrassed to say this too directly, but I wonder if you can take the initiative a bit. I'm rather busy, so I have to go soon. The pill doyen clapped his forehead. Haha, I've grown muddled with age. He turned to the frozen Yi Qian. If you are willing to bet, you must be willing to lose. Hand over what you staked. Yi Qian looked like he had lost his soul. The impact of this defeat was immense to him. Ever since he had learned alchemy, he had progressed smoothly, reaching the peak without ever suffering such a miserable defeat. He looked at the pill doyen in dismay and slowly took out the heavenly flame orb. At this moment, the division head said, Wait a minute. We have yet to test Long Chen's pill. How do we know whether it's really the 100 Dao merger spirit pill? Although his pill dash, shut your mouth. There is no need to test the pill. It's Chen'er's loss. The pill doyen coldly glanced at the division head before turning back to Yi Qian. Qian, you should know what to do. Yi Qian nodded. With his head drooping, he walked over to Long Chen and handed the heavenly flame orb over. You win. I, Yi Qian, am not one to renege on my debts. Long Chen smiled and received the heavenly flame orb. Sensing the fluctuations inside it, he knew that he hadn't worked for nothing. Many thanks. In front of countless envious gazes, Long Chen put the heavenly flame orb away. He tossed it inside the primal chaos space. Huo Long let out a heaven-shaking roar and devoured the orb. Long Chen had never sensed such excitement from it. The competition is over, so I won't disturb you any longer. Senior pill doyen, goodbye. Long Chen cupped his fists at the pill doyen. You can go. If you have time, come visit the divine pill division. The pill doyen nodded. He smiled, seemingly not at all displeased by Long Chen's win over Yi Qian. Long Chen nodded and began walking away slowly. Wan Qing held his hand and walked away with him. Seeing them walking away, the Divine Pill Division's experts' expressions were extremely unsightly. They felt hatred as though he wasn't giving them any face. But then they thought that if he had lost and had to bark like a dog, would they have given him any face? Elder Long and the Deputy Elder were watching from their chessboard. Elder Long curiously asked, Are they really going to let Long Chen go just like this? The Deputy Elder laughed. What else can they do? Although the heavenly flame orb is precious, the face of the Divine Pill Division is more important. But Long Chen isn't giving the Divine Pill Division any face. Just look at the division head's face. It's purple, said Elder Long. You're still lacking experience. The division head doesn't matter. Just watch the pill doyen, said the Deputy Elder. Seeing that Long Chen was about to vanish from sight, Feng Fei rose and prepared to leave as well. This competition had definitely been worth coming to. She had truly been amazed by Long Chen's skill in alchemy. HM? Why has he stopped? Asked one of Feng Fei's attendants. Feng Fei looked back to see that Long Chen and Wan Qing had paused suddenly just before vanishing from sight. Long Chen sighed and turned back. Looking at the pill doyen who was still smiling faintly, he said, Senior wins. This medicinal pill can be left for everyone as a lesson. Long Chen sent the 100 Dao merger spirit pill flying toward Yi Qian. He then left with Wan Qing, going straight to the treasury. Once they were out of sight, Wan Qing couldn't help asking, Why would you give them such a precious pill? You clearly won. That 100 Dao merger spirit pill was the strongest and most perfect pill that Wan Qing had ever seen, but Long Chen had given it away. She couldn't help feeling some pain over that loss. Long Chen sighed. The pill doyen is just too smart. If someone had blocked our way or made things difficult while we were leaving, I could have kept the 100 Dao merger spirit pill without a care. But the pill doyen let us leave without any trouble at all. I was even walking slowly so that someone would stop us, but regretfully, no one did. Having taken a priceless treasure like the heavenly flame orb, if I didn't leave behind something as well, it would be too much. Although I don't need to give face to anyone else within the Divine Pill Division, the pill doyen is someone I respect. Long Chen was actually disappointed, but there was no way around it. The pill doyen had been smart, and having obtained the heavenly flame orb, an absolutely priceless treasure, he could not give something back without offending the pill doyen. After all, the pill doyen was currently the only one that Long Chen could truly admire when it came to alchemy. He had given his life to alchemy. Such a person was a true alchemist. Although he did feel like the pill doyen had seen through this aspect and intentionally set it up this way, Long Chen had to accept it. In the end, he had been forced to leave behind his pill. As a result, this became a trade. Everyone within the Divine Pill Division, including Yi Qian, had ended up saving some face. Long Chen's original plan was to give the Divine Pill Division a vicious slap without giving any face due to how irritating Yi Qian was. But in the end, Yi Qian hadn't really touched Long Chen's bottom line, and he was a pampered child that Long Chen couldn't be bothered to quibble with. So he left the 100 Dao Merger Spirit Pill with him. Despite how incredibly pampered he was, Long Chen also saw that he was truly talented. The Divine Pill Division would be relying on him in the future. The pill doyen was also focused on his growth. Big brother Long Chen, I never knew your pill Dao is so amazing. I was actually worried for nothing. Wan Qing looked at Long Chen with a somewhat wronged expression. Foolish girl, didn't I tell you? Your big brother Long Chen is the strongest reincarnation of a warrior of the starry sky. I'll never lose, said Long Chen. Let's go pick some medicinal ingredients. Hee hee, I want to experience what it's like being rich. Seeing that expression of his, Wan Qing laughed. The two of them stepped into a transportation formation and vanished. Yi Qian was stunned. He instinctively caught the 100 Dao Merger Spirit Pill. In that instant, a vast energy shook his soul, almost making him cry out. Just touching this pill was enough for him to sense a vast and majestic energy that he felt like it might explode. He actually, Yi Qian simply stared. Long Chen had given him this pill? His mind was a mess. This action also dumbfounded everyone else. Only the pill doyen smiled as if he had expected it. Is this really the 100 Dao Merger Spirit Pill? It looks different from when I refined it. The energy inside it is crazy. If someone consumed it, wouldn't they explode? Could we have been tricked? This is basically a poison pill. The various elders began to examine and discuss this pill, causing the pill doyen to say, "Who told you that this pill was to be consumed?" Those people immediately shut their mouths and looked at the pill doyen. The other disciples also looked at him expectantly, hoping for an explanation. Even the non-alchemists were curious about this pill. Feng Fei was also seated once more, looking for an explanation. Looking at everyone, the pill doyen solemnly said, "Fine, then I'll give a lecture on how Long Chen has refined this 100 Dao Merger Spirit Pill. Disciples of the Divine Pill Division, listen closely. The tuition fee for this lecture was truly high. It truly was a high price. To trade a priceless heavenly flame orb for a 100 Dao Merger Spirit Pill was a huge loss." Yi Qian blushed, but there was no hole for him to hide himself in. "Qian, you don't need to blame yourself. This heavenly flame orb was given to you by the Divine Pill Division, so you simply lost your own item. In exchange, you've given a lesson to everyone here. Although it was expensive, as long as everyone is able to understand this lesson, it's not a loss. Perhaps we even profited. Fortune or calamity are decided by yourself. Whether something is a blessing or a disaster is decided by the final result, not a temporary win or loss." The pill doyen's words made Yi Qian feel better about his loss. He was extremely grateful to him. The pill doyen's gaze swept across all the disciples of the Divine Pill Division. He finally said, "Perhaps you aren't aware of this, but this competition was actually set up by myself." "What?" Everyone present was startled, unable to believe their ears. Yi Qian looked at him in disbelief. This competition had been the result of the pill doyen's direction, and yet no one had known beforehand. Even Yi Qian was confused. It had clearly been him that had challenged Long Chen. No one had told him to do so. The pill doyen smiled. "No need to be surprised. I arranged for Qian to go to the treasury." But the division had started. "It's very simple. I know Qian and Long Chen's characters. As long as they ran into each other, things would naturally develop to this result. Suddenly, the Pildoyan's smile vanished, and it was replaced with frost. When I came out of seclusion this time, I saw that the divine pill division was filled with arrogance and hot tempers. There was not a single person who had the character of a true alchemist. I said that to refine pills is to refine the heart. By opening the heart, it is possible to walk further on the pill Dao. Ask yourselves, are you really a true alchemist in your current state? Fawning and sweet-talking those amongst you, while acting high and mighty to others. Is that capable of improving yourselves? Is that enough to allow your alchemy to progress? If that was the case, I don't know which great god was able to find such an amazing approach. Who was it that created this miraculous cultivation style? Stand up and show yourself so our eyes can be opened to the world. Everyone was silent. They knew that the Pildoyan was truly angry. However, his anger didn't explode thunderously like some people. His anger was contained, which was precisely why everyone was starting to feel uneasy. Usually, it was possible to judge how angry someone was by their tone, but they were unable to judge the Pildoyan. They had no idea just how angry he was. Senior Pildoyan, it was my fault. I know where I was wrong. The division head actually knelt toward the Pildoyan in front of everyone. The Pildoyan didn't look at him. Where were you wrong? It was my lack of discipline toward my students that resulted in the divine pill division's atmosphere. I cannot escape my responsibility for this. It wasn't your lack of discipline to your students but your lack of discipline to yourself. How can you guide others when your own heart is astray? Before going into seclusion, you were not like this. I didn't expect a single talented disciple in the shape of Yi Qian to cause you to turn into this. Your entire focus is now on him. Are his accomplishments your accomplishments? Tell me, ever since accepting him as a disciple, have you ever seriously refined pills? Demanded the Pildoyan. The division head became covered in cold sweat. It seemed that he had never truly refined pills since accepting Yi Qian. To refine pills is to refine the heart. When you stopped refining your heart became unrestrained like a wild beast. Think back to the old you and the current you. Just how great of a change has occurred during these years? The Pildoyan shook his head disappointedly. Disciple knows his wrong. Go into seclusion. Find your heart again. The position of division head will temporarily be granted to Jiang Fei, said the Pildoyan. Everyone's heart shook. The Pildoyan had actually removed the division head from his position. That was huge. Normally, removing someone from that post required a deliberation from the divine families, but the Pildoyan had actually directly made the order. The disciples, as well as the senior elders, were apprehensive. They had never seen the Pildoyan dole out such a heavy punishment. Furthermore, it was in front of the entire divine pill division. He wasn't giving any face to the division head. The division head was pale but silently accepted it. He didn't dare to resist. The Pildoyan was someone with top authority within the divine families. Even the leader of the divine families had to be respectful toward him. Senior Pildoyan, it was my mistake. If there is to be a punishment, I should bear it along with my master. At this moment, Yi Qian suddenly knelt as well. The division head was moved and was about to tell him to back off when the Pildoyan laughed. Is this a punishment? Yi Qian looked at the Pildoyan in confusion. The Pildoyan continued, your master's heart has deviated from the pill Dao. He needs to find his heart again to return to his old self. What is more important, the pill Dao or some empty title? Many thanks for the reminder. Disciple understands, said the division head before Yi Qian could reply. The Pildoyan nodded. He laughed. You can get up now. As long as you understand, this tuition fee wasn't bad for nothing. To strike for personal fame and profit is the foundation of human desires. Even gods and devils are like that, let alone mortals like us. Desires can be controlled, but they cannot be obliterated. The extent of how far you are willing to let your desires go depends on each individual. That is why you must find your old heart. You must compose yourselves. Do not let your desires control you. Only then can you focus on the pill Dao. Many thanks for your teachings. Disciple understands, said the division head. You shouldn't thank me. I wasn't the one teaching you, laughed the Pill Doyen. Are we supposed to thank Long Chen? Demanded the division head in a daze. We already paid him his fee, so why would we have to thank him? If you want to thank someone, thank your disciple. The heavenly flame orb was his. He paid the price all by himself, but everyone is profiting, said the Pill Doyen. Yi Qian blushed, not knowing what to say. All right, everyone listen well. This pill is extraordinary. Even I cannot refine it, announced the Pill Doyen, putting away his smile and turning to the 100 Dao merger spirit pill. What? Even the Pill Doyen is unable to refine it. Everyone was shocked. The Pill Doyen was someone above the Nether Passage realm, the strongest alchemist within the divine families. They could not believe that even he was unable to refine it. Can't you refine heaven-rank top-grade pills? The earth tier should be nothing to you, exclaimed the division head. Of everyone present, only he knew the Pill Doyen's power. High-grade pills were ranked according to how many rings they had, while top-grade pills were split into heaven, earth, and mortal ranks. Essentially all pills floating throughout the marketplace were mortal rank. The earth ranks pills were essentially impossible to buy, let alone heaven rank. Even amongst the divine pill division, only a few disciples had managed to see an earth rank pill. Meanwhile, only a portion of the elders were qualified to study them. I can refine a heaven rank top grade pill, but I am unable to refine this 100 Dao merger spirit pill. That is because Long Chen's Dao is different from mine and different from everyone's here as well. He allowed his imagination to run rampant and created an entirely new way to refine this pill. Qiener's defeat cannot be blamed on him. Qien, don't hate me either. You had gone astray and needed someone to knock you back, said the Pill Doyen. Disciple understands, said Yi Qian immediately. His resentment toward Long Chen had faded. If it was someone that even the Pill Doyen admired, then competing with him was purely courting death. He couldn't blame someone else. The Pill Doyen nodded. Let us discuss the 100 Dao merger spirit pill. When refining it, you gather the energy of the heavenly Daos. That is up to the heavens. When Long Chen refined this pill, what he took was everyone's Dao. Do you remember the wave of light that swept past you? This reminder made everyone think of the light that had suddenly rippled out of Long Chen's furnace. At that moment, it had felt like their souls were being peered into. Could it be? Wondered Yi Qian. Yes. Everyone's Dao is different. Darkness, greed, laziness, and other emotions are all a kind of Dao. Long Chen gathered your negative emotions to combine into the 99 Daos and in the end added the heavenly tribulation's Dao of Annihilation to create the 100 Daos, explained the Pill Doyen. But that doesn't make sense either. How can the Dao of Annihilation enter a pill? Furthermore, if Long Chen gathered our negative emotions, then why are there no negative emotions within the pill? Asked one person. The Pill Doyen answered, that was where Long Chen was smart. He used the Dao of Annihilation to suppress those negative emotions, balancing it with them to form a very contradictory merger. This is part of the heavenly Daos and also part of the human Dao. The human Dao will never be perfect, and because it is not perfect, there is room for change. However, even I cannot tell what the core of this 100 Dao merger spirit pill is. Hence, I also must keep my heart humble when it comes to the Pill Dao. There are always more things to learn. Everyone nodded along with the Pill Doyen. They hadn't expected an alchemist from the martial heaven continent to have such abilities. Their eyes had truly been opened. This pill is not to be consumed. It is used to comprehend the heavenly Daos. To Qian, its value is even greater than the heavenly flame orb, said the Pill Doyen. To Yi Qian he said, your talent is the best of everyone I've seen, but your path has been too smooth. There has always been someone sweeping obstacles out of your way, resulting in you lacking perceptiveness. Suffering this blow now is recoverable, but if you had continued growing more arrogant, this blow might have been fatal to you. That's why you shouldn't hate Long Chen. Without him, this life of yours would essentially have been crippled. To pay a tuition fee and learn a lesson is worth it. You also don't need to feel inferior or bad. Long Chen has definitely paid far greater tuition fees in blood. That is why he is stronger than you. Disciple understands. I don't hate him. I'm very grateful to him. Yi Qian nodded. Good. Then everyone can leave now. If you've gained some insight, then go into seclusion to think it over. If you didn't gain anything, then do whatever work you have to do. Once everyone was gone, the pill doyen looked in the direction where Long Chen had left. He muttered to himself, I almost misjudged. That wasn't the 9-cycle pill light, it was the pill sovereign's divine radiance. But the martial heaven continent has never produced a sovereign of the pill Dao. I didn't think that Long Chen's alchemy skill was so terrifying, said Elder Long with shock. They had done a thorough investigation of Long Chen and were aware that he knew how to refine pills. But they had had no idea that his skill in alchemy was so high. Long Chen was a martial artist. Dual martial and pill cultivation was essentially a dead path. Alchemists would always focus on alchemy, and all their techniques would be focused on their pill flame. They wouldn't learn other techniques. However, Long Chen also had Thunder Force, as well as the 9 forms of Split the Heavens and a multitude of other skills. According to reason, even if such a person had once been a grandmaster of alchemy, they would still be crippled from learning those abilities. Long Chen has many unknown secrets. He has never had a mountain to rely on but was still able to reach this level. He must have something he depends on. Countless people have grown greedy for his secrets, which resulted in his path being so thorny. He must possess a tough life force. If we could use him well, he would be of great assistance to our Long family. Outyen and the others are about to return. We can introduce them properly then. With Long Chen assisting Outyen, our Long family might be able to far surpass the others. But Long Chen isn't so easy to control, so we'll have to think of a way to entice him. We also have to be careful of the Yi family. They've been keeping a close eye on Long Chen. We cannot allow them to kill him. The Yi family has already seen through our goal, so this is the most dangerous moment for Long Chen. I'll leave this matter to you, said the deputy elder. You don't need to worry about that. I've prepared everything. There's just one thing. Long Chen and the original devil race, probed Elder Long. The deputy elder thought about it and said, that truly is a problem. The original devil race is the enemy of the entire world. If caught, the Yi family will have an above-board reason to target Long Chen, while we'll be helpless. However, it's not as important as the rest. Just keep an eye on the Yi family's movements. Long Chen won't expose himself so easily. Moreover, the star field divine world will soon open. The Yi family's attention should be focused there. We cannot overlook this matter, but we also cannot ignore it. Then I understand. I'll arrange things now. I'll make things easy for Long Chen to express our sincerity. Elder Long nodded and left. Within 2 hours, Long Chen's 20 million points in winnings and his original 300,000 points were used up. He now had 370 new 12th-tier medicinal ingredients, as well as stocks of over 20 different kinds of divine material. Despite the shocking amount of wealth, which was 20 million points, he found that these points were just a drop in the ocean of this treasury. Long Chen wished he could plunder this entire treasury. Originally, he had been planning on buying even more 12th-tier ingredients, but Wan Qing had stealthily stopped him and told him that she had some of the ingredients. Pill Valley was focused on raising her. Ever since the Pill Fairy had become the divine daughter, her interest in alchemy had faded, resulting in Wan Qing becoming the future leader of Pill Valley. She had started refining 12th-tier pills now, and having come to the divine families for an exchange of knowledge, she naturally couldn't appear too poor. She had brought quite a few precious ingredients with her. Wan Qing gave one of every ingredient she had to Long Chen. After Long Chen planted them within the primal chaos space, he would have an endless supply of them. Long Chen calculated it, and adding on the ones that he had found himself, as well as the ones that Zheng Wenlong had helped him gather, he had over 1,300 12th-tier medicinal ingredients. He was able to refine over 200 different pills with these ingredients. He had truly managed to profit this time. With 12th-tier pills, he could quickly raise his realm. Having encountered Feng Fei here in the divine families made him feel immense pressure. The demon king that she had killed had given him a sensation of mortal danger even though it had just been a corpse. For Feng Fei to be able to kill it and keep its corpse perfectly intact meant that her power was unfathomable. Having spent the money, Long Chen felt that it was time to leave. He said goodbye to Elder Long as well as Shen Qingfeng and the others. Long Chen, why don't you come join the divine families? I'll give you my commander spot. You can lead us into being the First Legion, said Shen Qingfeng sincerely. Long Chen laughed. Even without me, you can become the First Legion. You just need time. Work hard. Long Chen left with Wan Qing, and they sat on a transportation formation to the Martial Heaven continent. However, when they returned, Long Chen was shocked. He thought that they had been brought to the wrong place. The clear sky had vanished, and a haze covered the sky, filling the world with a deathly air. While you were in the divine families, the Martial Heaven continent underwent this transformation. The aura of other worlds has started to creep in, causing spatial disturbances. The seals on the other worlds are weakening, and their laws are mixing into the continent. Darkness will soon envelop the world. This is also why it's called the Dark Era, said Wan Qing with a sigh. This upcoming tribulation might not be one that they could survive. In the past, a sovereign had always been there to get the Martial Heaven continent through the Dark Era. But even then, less than a tenth of the experts during those times managed to survive. Now, there was no sovereign at all. Don't worry. We just need to be able to face them ourselves, said Long Chen. Wan Qing shook her head and suddenly her eyes reddened. I'm not afraid of anything else. I just don't want to see you and big sister Qingxian fight to the death. She's been in seclusion in the Divine Palace the entire time. No one has seen her. I feel like she's getting farther and farther from me. Long Chen grew gloomy. There was nothing anyone could do about this. The two of them eventually parted. Instead of returning to the Martial Heaven Alliance, Long Chen went to the Wine God Palace. Upon meeting Long Xiaoyu again, he saw that she had grown again. She grew delighted upon seeing him. His father and mother were still the same. His mother was tending her garden, while Long Tianshao was immersed in winemaking. The Wine God Palace was isolated from the rest of the world, so they didn't sense the danger to the Martial Heaven continent. It was only here that Long Chen managed to feel at peace. He accompanied his family in a quiet, happy dinner before going to see the high priest. He went by Tu Qianshang's little house, but he wasn't home. When Long Chen asked around, he learned that Tu Qianshang was still roaming the outside world. It had been a long time since he had returned. After that, Long Chen arrived at the high priest's residence. The high priest immediately laughed and indicated for him to sit, bringing out his wine. When Long Chen reached out to pour the wine, the high priest waved his hand, doing it himself. What kind of impression did the divine families give you? Asked the high priest. To tell the truth, my impression of them isn't very good. Long Chen took a light sip of the wine and instantly felt refreshed. This wine seemed to be able to make him forget all his vexations. Oh, but I can't say. The divine families just give me a very strange feeling. Other than the Pill Doyen, I was unable to see through the others. The only one I have a good impression of is the Pill Doyen, said Long Chen. Long Chen didn't hold anything back when it came to the high priest. He had great trust in the senior. The Divine Pill Division's Pill Doyen should be Yin Chang, right? He's definitely worthy of admiration. The high priest nodded. Long Chen was startled. You know the Pill Doyen? I don't remember the exact time because it was so long ago, but he came to the Wine God Palace and used the Pill Dao to discuss the Wine Dao. He gave me a marvelous impression. He allowed me to see many things that I had never seen before. That is why I chose to allow the collaboration with Pill Valley for the medicinal wines, but you also know that not all people are able to make alchemy their conviction. Long Chen was surprised to learn that there was actually such a history behind the Wine God Palace and Pill Valley's collaboration. You should be careful of the divine families. They are a den of tigers. The divine families have their own secrets, and as an outsider, they will definitely not allow you to be a part of them. If you get too close to them, you'll get burned, warned the high priest. Long Chen nodded. The divine families are like a riddle, but I have no choice but to work with them. However, I'm not being careless with them. Long Chen had no choice but to work with the Long family. Other than for the benefits, he had a feeling that his origins were very likely related to the Long family. However, such a thing could not be directly investigated. The divine families were on guard against him, and even the deputy elder had been probing him. If he asked about it directly, it would immediately raise the Long family's alarm. Right now, he could only take things one step at a time. The only one that Long Chen could possibly trust was the pill Doyen. He gave Long Chen a feeling of absolute trust. It was a strange feeling. Moreover, Long Chen was unable to fully trust Shen Chengfeng, Elder Long, or the deputy elder. Have you witnessed any of the geniuses of the divine families who are sovereign sprouts? Asked the high priest. Sovereign sprouts? Asked Long Chen. Could it be? After hearing of the existence of sovereign sprouts, the first thing that Long Chen thought of was Feng Fei. Could it be that the divine families were trying to raise a sovereign? By a sovereign sprout, you mean? Probed Long Chen. The high priest smiled faintly. It's just as you imagine. The divine families have always wanted to raise a sovereign, so they have been grooming sovereign sprouts. But although they were able to raise supreme geniuses, they never could raise a sovereign. However, they have yet to give up. With all the karmic luck of the world gathering within the geniuses of this era, they must have prepared themselves. I would estimate that the four families are not unified, so they all have their own thoughts. As they fight amongst themselves, their true goal, well, to get back on topic, I was just wondering if you've seen any sovereign sprouts. Long Chen couldn't be sure, so he gave a simple explanation of Feng Fei. The high priest nodded. To be able to kill a matured blood-winged demon king and keep its corpse intact is truly the power of a sovereign sprout. A matured blood-winged demon king has power on the same level as the divine family's heaven elders. Based on that, your current chances of beating this Feng Fei in battle are very low. Long Chen's heart pounded. For the high priest to say this, it meant that a sovereign sprout had even more power than Long Chen had thought. Although you are already very powerful, compared to a sovereign sprout, you are lacking their foundation. Do you know what the 3 requirements are for becoming a sovereign? Asked the high priest. You've mentioned it to me. It's the spirit blood, the spirit root, and the spirit bone, said Long Chen. You know of the spirit blood and the spirit root, but the spirit bone is something you have yet to come into contact with. There are some things I shouldn't be telling you for fear of damaging your heart, but in the current state of the world, we must discuss this problem. High priest, you were able to tell that my spirit root, spirit blood, and spirit bone were taken. Can others see that? The high priest's words had made Long Chen think of something. Last time, the high priest had said that without spirit blood, a spirit root, or a spirit bone, he was unable to become a sovereign. What if the Long family had noticed this as well? That was not good for him. As if seeing through his worries, the high priest comforted him. I was able to tell because I sensed it the first time I saw you. As your cultivation base grew, I was no longer able to tell. You don't need to worry about this. Others are unable to sense this secret any longer. Furthermore, you fully merged with the Azure Dragon Essence blood. Your original Essence blood had been completely masked by it. No one will be able to pursue the original source of your spirit blood. This explanation put Long Chen at ease. If he truly was someone from the divine families, then the person who had taken his spirit blood, spirit root, and spirit bone was also definitely someone from the divine families or someone related to them. It would be far too easy for them to get suspicious of him if they knew that he was lacking his spirit blood, spirit root, and spirit bone. Although his spirit root and such had been previously tested in the Shantian Dao sect, that had just been an ordinary examination. Any information about it had vanished thanks to Li Tianxian, who had hidden it for him. When Long Chen had found that out, he knew that Li Tianxian knew something. But this also wasn't entirely out of the ordinary for a sect. Some large sects would cover up the history of their talented disciples to keep things confidential. Some disciples themselves were unable to learn their own origins. Li Tianxian had truly arranged everything for Long Chen in that regard, so he had nothing to worry about there. Long Chen, the era of top geniuses fighting for the position of sovereign is coming. If you continue to stay this conservative, what comes next will be very miserable for you. Sovereign Mo Li saved you once, but the multiplication of that karma will still come eventually. A young person should have a youngster's vitality. Release yourself. The Wine God Palace will be your strongest shield, said the High Priest profoundly. High Priest, are you saying? Long Chen was startled. The Wine God Palace had always remained aloof from the rest of the world. How could he say such a thing? The High Priest smiled. The workings of fate cannot be divulged. All you need to do now is that when you are at an impasse, the Wine God Palace will be behind you. Although the divine families are strong, the Wine God Palace has its own power. We don't like fighting, but that doesn't mean we don't have the power to fight. This is all the Wine God's will. Furthermore, if you continue acting so cautiously, there won't be a way out in the future. Give yourself free rein. When the heavens collapse, the Wine God Palace will hold them up for you. I have found that you no longer dare to take risks. Have you forgotten that while you accumulate power, others are also accumulating power rapidly? You are fighting alone, while others have millions of people supporting them. The more cautious you are and the fewer risks you dare to take, the faster your enemies will grow past you. Long Chen was startled and delighted to hear that the Wine God Palace would support him fully. Furthermore, it was even the Wine God's will. Many thanks. Your support truly means a great deal to me. It's not just me supporting you. You don't like to rely on others, so you are unaware of just how many people are standing behind you. The Wine God Palace is simply being the first to state it outright so that you stop wasting your precious time, said the High Priest. Long Chen had never been able to sense the full depth of the High Priest. He was like an ocean. There was no way to tell how deep it went below the calm surface. Although Long Chen could not sense his cultivation base, Long Chen's intuition told him that the High Priest was definitely another expert above the Nether Passage realm. The High Priest was low-key, so for him to say such big words meant that he definitely had the confidence to do so. That made Long Chen feel confident. Well, if I have your support, then there's nothing to fear. I don't need to hide things. Long Chen clenched his fists. His alchemy, Xia Chen's formations, Guoran's forging, Long Chen was forced to gather the materials for these things secretly. In truth, it was possible to directly buy the materials, or even finished and half-finished products. Guoran in particular was forced to waste a great deal of time and manpower refining materials that could be bought in an already refined state. That was wasting time. As for his own alchemy, it was something he had never been able to reveal. After exposing it in the divine families, he even felt some regret. Thinking of how countless gazes would be on him to spy on his alchemy was extremely irritating. But with the Wine God Palace's support, Long Chen felt strengthened. He bade farewell to the High Priest and had another meal with his family before leaving. Upon leaving the Grand Xia, he suddenly felt a sense of alarm. Someone's watching me? This was a feeling that came from the 9-star Hegemon body art. He was almost unable to sense anything at all due to how well hidden it was. Furthermore, whoever it was, they were intentionally not targeting him to avoid drawing his attention. It's not the aura of the Bloodkill Hall. Long Chen instantly removed the Bloodkill Hall from the possibilities. The feeling was completely different. Someone else would definitely not be able to sense whoever it was, so it had to be a supreme expert. Long Chen could only sense some vague hostility thanks to the 9-star Hegemon body art. It was rare for him to be unable to even pinpoint where the hostility was coming from. Long Chen smiled coldly. Since leaving the divine families, only Wan Qing had known where he was going. Furthermore, Long Chen had been disguised before going to the Wine God Palace. That wasn't to trick anyone, but simply to avoid the imperial family and causing a fuss. Based on that, the only ones capable of following him here were the divine families. Amongst the divine families, the ones who wanted him dead the most was the Yi family. Acting like he didn't sense anything, Long Chen sped off, silently crushing a ball of medicine. Colorless, odorless powder floated through the air. When he reached a large, barren mountain range, Long Chen suddenly came to a stop. Evil Moon appeared in his hand, and he slashed it down behind him. Boom! The void exploded. From within countless fragments of space-time, a man in a silver mask appeared. It was an old man with white hair who was skinny and tall. Beneath the silver mask lay a pair of shocked eyes. He didn't know how Long Chen had sensed him. Long Chen rested Evil Moon on his shoulder and coldly said, "The Yi family actually sent an old dog to chase me? What, you want to bite me?" Long Chen's spiritual yuan began to circulate within him at full power. His 108,000 astral spaces activated, filling him with energy. This old fellow was very powerful. "Obediently let yourself be captured and I won't kill you. Otherwise, I'll have to get forceful. You can't blame me if you die then." The masked elder's voice was hoarse and painful to listen to, but contained an unquestionable tone. A fourth-step nether passage expert whose aura is close to the Heaven Elders, but who is skilled in hiding. It seems that the Yi family isn't looking down on me. They actually sent such an expert after me. That makes me feel good. Long Chen looked at the silver-masked elder with a smile. "With death at hand, you're still so arrogant. It seems you won't be coming peacefully. I can only take you by force," snorted the masked elder. He suddenly raised a hand. That one hand covered the heavens and caused the void to collapse. It covered Long Chen from every direction. That hand contained life and death energy but was still silent. All the power was condensed within it without any leaking at all. "When have I never not been arrogant?" sneered Long Chen. His aura suddenly changed. A dragon roar rang out, and white scales covered his body. His divine ring appeared along with 6 stars in his eyes. "Split the heavens 8. Evil Moon slashed down. Even in the face of a fourth-step nether passage expert, Long Chen didn't dodge. He fought him directly. Boom. When his attack struck the hand, Long Chen's body trembled. His attack crumbled, while the hand only paused slightly before continuing toward him. "An amateur who just entered nether passage dares to compete in terms of power with me? Do you think you're someone like Senior Feng Fei? Be suppressed." The masked man sneered. The hand continued to press down upon Long Chen. The energy that Long Chen had managed to cancel out with his own attack rapidly restored. "So this is the cycle of life and death, Samsara. It is unending." Long Chen had a spark of insight from witnessing this hand. He managed to progress the slightest bit into the mysteries of the Samsara realm. It was a kind of cyclic power as well as a kind of law. Unless the cycle could be severed with absolute power, it could not be broken. It would simply restore itself naturally. No wonder it was said that a third-step nether passage expert was like an ant in front of a fourth-step nether passage expert. Although it was just one step, the power difference was like heaven and earth. Long Chen attacked again with his saber, with even greater force. As a result, he was blown back and coughed up a mouthful of blood. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. "Be suppressed obediently and you might live," sneered the masked elder. His hand once more recovered from any damage that Long Chen had caused it and continued onward. "What chariot are you? Although I'm not Feng Fei, killing you is easy." Long Chen smiled and attacked again. This time, it wasn't split the heavens but an ordinary slash. "Kill me? Ha!" The elder laughed like he had heard the world's funniest joke. However, that laughter was cut off when Evil Moon met his hand. Both attacks exploded. As the elder was stunned, unable to believe what he was seeing, lightning flickered. Long Chen appeared in front of him like a specter. His saber came slashing down, causing the elder to hastily retreat. Evil Moon left a long cut in his throat. "Your physical body is this weak? Nice, then I really am confident in killing you. Tell me, how do you want to die?" asked Long Chen. The elder was shocked. If he had reacted the slightest bit slower, his head would have been cut off. "How do you have such powerful life energy?" "I'm not your dad, so why do I have to tell you? Has your head grown muddled with age?" The Samsara realm isn't as great as I thought," sneered Long Chen. Although Long Chen had been injured by the last 2 attacks, he had managed to grasp some of the mysteries of the Samsara realm. It was a kind of law of half-life energy and half-death energy. The 2 energies were in a cycle, capable of restoring each other. Unless his power could surpass the elder's power, he wouldn't be able to do anything to it. With just power, Long Chen could not break that cycle. So, on his 3rd attack, he didn't use power. He used his life energy. An expert who had just entered the Nether Passage realm was capable of using life and death energy. But that life and death energy was separate, and not in a cycle like a Samsara expert. As the first step in the Nether Passage realm, despite possessing both life energy and death energy, using either one was very difficult. That was why the first step was just the foundation. The second step was using life energy, while the third step was using death energy. When life and death could be controlled, it was possible to enter the Samsara realm, the fourth step of Nether Passage. Going from the first step to the second step was comparatively easy. There wasn't much danger. But going to the third step was difficult. It required one's death energy to suppress one's life energy. When the death energy filled the body, leaving only the slightest trace of life energy, it would be the peak of the death realm. After that, by using the slightest trace of life energy, the death energy would be driven away until they were balanced. However, when the death energy was strong, it was all too easy for the life energy to be extinguished. When the life energy was too weak, it would be unable to return and balance the death energy. In the end, the death energy would overwhelm it and end the cultivator's life. The 4 Grand Elders of the Martial Heaven Alliance were in that kind of state. Their life energy was too weak. Although Long Chen had found medicine that could strengthen their life energy and keep them alive, they had been in the third step of Nether Passage for too long. Their death energy had eroded their bodies and taken over. Hence, there was no longer any way for them to reach the fourth step. What Long Chen had found essentially was that life and death energy needed a certain balance in order to sustain itself. So on his third attack, he had forcibly inserted his own life energy into the saber. According to reason, even a third-step Nether Passage expert would not be able to break the equilibrium of a fourth-step Nether Passage expert's life and death energy. However, Long Chen's life energy came from the primal chaos space. Although he was only able to utilize a trace of its power, it was enough to throw his opponent's attack into disorder, causing it to explode. The masked elder snorted. It was definitely a coincidence. A black and white sword appeared in the air behind him and shot toward Long Chen. Long Chen slashed his saber once more. His life energy surged, and the white color instantly took over the black color of the sword, causing it to lose its balance and explode. I understand now. You're just a rookie who only just entered the fourth step. No wonder your balance is so stiff. Well, since you're so weak, I'll just slaughter you here. Long Chen had figured out this person's skill level. Even amongst fourth-step Nether Passage experts, there were immense differences. This person still had quite a distance from being on the same level as Elder Long and the other Heaven Elders. Like a bolt of lightning, Long Chen charged toward the masked elder. Even so, killing you is as easy as turning a hand. The masked elder seemed enraged by this ridicule. A sword appeared in his hand, and an icy air erupted. This was actually an ice sword. Aren't you afraid of swallowing your tongue with such big words? This bragging really has no skill, taunted Long Chen. Evil Moon's 2 dragon marks lit up. Ice crystals exploded into the air when Evil Moon met the ice sword. It was as if the entire world had been frozen. My ice energy dash, pow. The elder was most likely about to introduce just how amazing his ice energy was when he was slapped away by Long Chen. Shut up. No one has time to listen to you natter. Originally, Long Chen had been thinking of shattering the mask when he struck his face, but he found that the mask was part of his body. He couldn't remove it. Long Chen sneered, "This ice energy is a huge joke in front of me." When it came to ice energy, he only admired Yijiqiu. After being with her for so long, he had managed to build up his own resistance toward ice energy. As his future wife, he had to be prepared for her ice spirit body. Without any natural immunity, there would be no way to do any pleasurable stuff. Even holding hands could get him frozen. This elder's ice energy might be able to freeze others, but it was nothing more than a slight chill to Long Chen. Since you want to die so badly, fine. The masked elder roared and the void behind him rumbled. A black and white core appeared, and a star blazed into existence around it. In that moment, the masked elder's power erupted. Samsara Void Extinguisher. That star seemed to ignite all the energy within the masked elder. Boundless Samsara energy whirled within it, causing Long Chen's heart to shake. The masked elder slashed through the ice. His ice energy froze space and time. This was the power of a Dao. Long Chen was locked down by this sword. With a deep breath, he poured his power into Evil Moon. As a result, a dragon roar resounded throughout heaven and earth, and an evil air exploded out of Evil Moon. It was like a fiend had broken through the gates of hell to devour the mortal world. Boom! As if coming alive, Evil Moon roared as it slashed into the sword. A huge explosion sent Long Chen and the masked elder flying. Long Chen felt like his bones were about to crumble, and he couldn't help being shocked. What was that star for it to be so powerful? In that situation, he had been forced to use Evil Moon's power, and Evil Moon hadn't disappointed him. It had managed to block that terrifying attack. However, his own physical body was unable to endure it. While Long Chen was shocked, the masked elder was even more shocked. That star behind him was a manifestation of his astral space. His life and death energy had gathered into his astral space at the core. That gave him greater control over his life and death energy, and it would prevent Long Chen from using his life energy to break the masked elder's abilities. If it was an expert on Elder Long's level, then there would be no need to summon this star outside their body. Someone on that level would be able to balance out their life energy before their technique collapsed. However, this masked elder had yet to reach that level. He had clearly just reached the fourth step. With his astral space manifestation, the masked elder was no longer afraid of Long Chen disturbing his techniques with life energy. However, he definitely hadn't thought that Long Chen would be able to face his attack with pure power. It seems that this blade of yours is a treasure. A child isn't suited for such a thing. I'll be taking it. The masked elder grew greedy upon realizing that the source of Long Chen's power was Evil Moon. Fuck, does he dare to touch me? Long Chen, kill him. Raged Evil Moon. Let's test his power first, said Long Chen. Test what? This kind of novice is worth testing? In my peak, I could crush a mass of these fellows with a fart. Just kill him. Evil Moon continued to rage. Not waiting for Long Chen's response, dark energy swirled out of Evil Moon and entered Long Chen's body. His white scales became half black. Following that, 72 of Long Chen's acupuncture points began to quiver. A giant saber image tore into the sky, sucking away the energy of heaven and earth. Split the heavens 8. Long Chen let out a cry. Although this was also the 8th form of Split the Heavens, when using Evil Moon's full power to unleash it, this blow cut through the restrictions of space and time. It was like a god's blade slashing down upon the masked elder. The masked elder was horrified. In just an instant, Long Chen had transformed into another person. Even his aura had changed, becoming dark and sinister like a devil king. The masked elder hastily formed hand seals, causing the star behind him to quiver. Life and death energy burst forth like a volcano, merging into his sword. After that, a streak of light erupted out of it. Boom! The sword and saber clashed. Long Chen was unable to keep a grip on Evil Moon, and it went flying out of his hands. Moreover, both his hands were badly mangled. As for the masked elder, he shot back like a shooting star, blasting through 3 big mountains before coming to a stop. He coughed up blood, which came out of the sides of his mask. His ice sword was destroyed, leaving behind only a hilt. Not only that, but the destructive power within Long Chen's sword was wrecking his body. He was shocked to find that even his life energy was unable to heal his injuries. His heavenly Dao energy was isolated from him. Just at that moment, a burst of blinding light appeared. A lightning spear pierced toward his head. The masked elder was appalled and suddenly took out a jade tablet. That piece of jade was almost the exact same shape as the one that Long Chen had, but it was a different color, blue. He crushed the jade, and a curtain of light appeared in front of him. Furthermore, a withered hand came reaching out of the light to strike Long Chen's lightning spear. The lightning spear instantly crumbled. Long Chen was shocked, and when he retreated, he found that everything around the light barrier was affected by a strange law. His movements were slowed down. The hand reached toward Long Chen's throat. Life and death energy surged within the hand, energy that was far stronger than the masked elders. This is someone on the level of a heaven elder. Long Chen's heart pounded. The Yi family had even sent such a backup just to kill him. Just at that moment, Evil Moon came flying back of its own accord, striking the hand. The hand went from a claw to a fist and instantly became pitch black. It blocked Evil Moon just like that, and a metallic ringing filled the air. Gloves! Long Chen instantly realized that this was a set of divine items. Borrowing Evil Moon's power, he retreated from the light. Within this light, he was unable to use his full power. The owner of the hand came out. He wore black robes and also had a silver mask. His hair was black, and although it was not possible to see his face, based on the fluctuations of his blood qi, there was no sign of old age. His hands pulled on the void, and space twisted. He suddenly appeared right in front of Long Chen, a claw reaching for his throat. This fellow's much stronger. This domain only allows life and death energy to be used. We're at too much of a disadvantage, said Evil Moon. Long Chen and Evil Moon felt like they were moving in water. The more power they tried to use, the more that they were impacted. After 7 moves, that fellow's claw reached Long Chen's shoulder. 5 bloody holes appeared in Long Chen's shoulder. That person pulled, and Long Chen let out a pained grunt as a piece of his flesh was ripped off. Those gloves of his were so sharp that even the Azure Dragon battle armor was unable to block them. What an unexpected failure! Long Chen shook his head. He had fallen for a trap. If he hadn't been in a rush to kill the elder, he wouldn't have ended up in this trap. This was clearly a supreme expert on par with a heaven elder, and yet he didn't care about his face and actually came to target Long Chen, a rookie who had just entered the Nether Passage realm. That meant that they viewed killing him as a must. The masked man tossed away the flesh he had ripped off of Long Chen. Without a word, he continued attacking, not giving Long Chen any breathing room. Bang! A cyan brick appeared in front of Long Chen, blocking his claw. Long Chen had taken out the heaven-flipping seal at this critical moment. Having been accumulating power for so much time, it suddenly unleashed a wave of power, blocking the attack without any struggle. Good job! Exclaimed Long Chen. After being nourished for so long, the heaven-flipping seal was now on the same level as Evil Moon. This brick he had found within the mysterious coffin in Devil Spirit Mountain had mysterious origins. Even Evil Moon had a high opinion of it and was constantly trying to teach it how to use its power. Now those lessons were paying off. Even the masked man was startled. The heaven-flipping seal was so hard that even in his gloves, his hand hurt. It felt like it might break. The heaven-flipping seal expanded, separating Long Chen from the masked man. Long Chen suddenly felt his body lighten as he escaped the masked man's domain. His gaze instantly turned icy. Split the heavens 8. Evil Moon once more unleashed its power. Long Chen was furious. That domain had been far too stifling, and it had almost killed him. Evil Moon was just as angry as he was. The feeling of having power but not being able to release it was infuriating. A scale-like pattern appeared on its blade. As a result, Long Chen felt his spiritual yuan and the power of his astral spaces pour into Evil Moon. A giant saber image appeared in the sky, filled with killing intent. When it slashed into the light domain, the entire light domain exploded. The masked man blocked with both hands, and a giant star appeared behind him as he used the same technique as the elder. A muffled bang rang out. The masked man's star blazed with light, seeming to suck away all the power of Long Chen's attack. Suddenly, the masked man coughed up a mouthful of blood. The impact of the attack caused his mask to fly off, revealing his face. Even Long Chen jumped in shock. The silver mask of that man came ripping off with the skin of his face, revealing a bloody appearance. With his face torn off, the man hastily grabbed the mask, terrified. However, without hesitation, Long Chen slashed the mask. The mask instantly exploded, and the man let out a mournful shriek. A black mark suddenly appeared on his forehead and spread throughout his entire body. Curse energy turned the space around him black. Long Chen hastily retreated, feeling a chill. He didn't want to be touched by that black light. A death sworn. Long Chen's heart shook. Although he didn't know what was up with the mask, it was clear that it was used to control him. With the mask off, the curse erupted. Ah! The man screamed as if millions of sinister ghosts were devouring his soul. It was a hair-raising scream. A grand fourth-step nether passage expert was actually being controlled by someone. That was a frightening thought. When the black mark fully covered his body, he exploded. Seeing that, Long Chen's scalp turned numb. The Yi family was truly vicious. He had a new understanding of the Yi family. Long Chen suddenly slashed Evil Moon again, sending a saber image tearing toward the masked elder who had been about to flee. "Speak, who sent you?" demanded Long Chen. The masked elder detonated without hesitation. The power of his astral space exploded along with his physical body, sending a wave of death everywhere with him as the epicenter. This was different from the previous fellow whose curse had activated. Mountains vanished without a trace, and a bottomless hole appeared in the area, with the laws of space in complete chaos. This single detonation was incredibly powerful. After a while, Long Chen came crawling out of the mud and hacked up a few mouthfuls of blood. Just then, the detonation had been extremely sudden. He had expected the elder to still have a few trump cards and had been hoping to slowly grind them out and capture him alive. But the latter had simply killed himself. The detonation of his astral space in particular had been extremely terrifying. Being caught at such a close range, Long Chen's body had almost been blown apart. Anyone else would have been blasted out of existence. What a disaster of a day. I didn't get anything. Long Chen spat out some blood hatefully. The Yi family had actually sent 2 deathsworns to kill him. They were even stronger than he had thought, as well as vicious. The first elder had definitely been bait. They had most likely calculated that he wouldn't be a match for Long Chen and were using him as bait to get Long Chen closer. When Long Chen tried to kill him, the second one would then come out. Furthermore, they had most likely not wanted to kill him but capture him alive. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come one after another. Do they want my secrets? Long Chen sneered inside. It seemed that after the alchemy competition, the Yi family had grown covetous. It was unknown if it was due to his alchemy techniques or the moon and star refining furnace. Looking at the battlefield, Long Chen shook his head. Even after such an irritating battle, he hadn't gained anything. After patting the dust off of himself, he sped off. Once he left, 2 figures materialized in the air. One of them was Elder Long, while the other was the elder that had sat beside Elder Long during the joint hearing. He was another Heaven Elder. That elder frowned. What is the Yi family doing? They sent 2 silver maskers to chase Long Chen so brazenly? Elder Long waved his hand. Fragments of ice flew over from every direction. Those were the shattered fragments of the masked elder's ice sword. He indifferently said, "Do you still not understand the Yi family? With the family head in seclusion, they have Yi Ziwei in charge. Yi Jiqing is from her bloodline, and they have pretty much the same character. With Yi Jiqing stirring up trouble and Yi Ziwei's foolishness, do you think it's possible for them to come up with any better of a plan?" When speaking of Yi Ziwei, Elder Long was clearly disdainful. Long Chen is quite powerful. He was able to settle things without us interfering, said the other elder. Both those fellows died aggrieved. They thought that their life and death domains would be enough to handle Long Chen since he has yet to reach that realm. That resulted in them trying to capture him alive. When Long Chen shattered the fellow's domain, it left fragments of his energy in the surrounding space, so when he tried to use his life and death energy against Long Chen, he was affected by his own power that hung in the air. As a result, he only managed to unleash at most 80% of his power against Long Chen's attack. His internal organs were shattered and came flying out of his mouth, causing his mask to fly off. He was definitely resentful about that as he died, said Elder Long. That's not right either. The masks of the silver maskers don't come off just like that. How could coughing up blood make it fall? Other than the actual person, it's very difficult for anyone else to remove the mask. It was a sum of factors from when he was struck. His blood chi erupted, his mind received an impact, and the runes on his mask loosened. Adding on how hard he coughed up the blood, it resulted in the mask flying off. That's why I said he was definitely vexed upon dying. His luck was truly bad. Otherwise, Long Chen would have had to pay a price to handle him and might not have been able to kill him at all, explained Elder Long. Looking around and not seeing anything else that they needed to handle, the two of them faded back into the void. Long Chen found a nearby river. He washed his clothes and cleaned himself up. After killing 2 fourth-step nether passage experts, Long Chen didn't feel the slightest bit of happiness. Instead, he was solemn. The first masked expert had just reached the 4th step and was only there to test him. The second one was the true killer. The only reason he had managed to kill him was because his mask had fallen off, resulting in the curse activating. Otherwise, even if Long Chen could beat him, his chances of killing him were extremely low. However, the High Priest had said that a matured Blood-Winged Demon King was on the same power level, and Feng Fei was able to kill one easily. That showed the difference between them. It seems that I really do need to get stronger. Perhaps only once the 6th star is fully condensed and my realm rises will I be able to match the Sovereign Sprouts. But first, I need to go to the Mo family. I need to know what's up with Mo Nian. Thinking of Mo Nian, Long Chen helplessly sighed. As others were cultivating, he was rushing around. The difference between them was starting to grow. However, complaining only led to resentment. He had certain burdens he had to carry. He quickly set off for the Mo family's ancestral land. When he arrived, he saw that they were on high alert. The Grand Formation was active as if powerful enemies might arrive at any moment. When they saw Long Chen, they jumped. "Old fellow, what's going on?" The one to receive Long Chen was Mo Nian's grandfather, Mo Yi. Mo Yi's cultivation base had reached the Sea Expansion realm, but due to his age, even with great medicinal pills and resources, he had essentially reached his limit. The branches of the Mo family had gathered once more. This place was filled with experts, and with Mo Yi's cultivation base, he was unable to reach the higher ranks. However, despite his low cultivation base, everyone in the Mo family respected him. He was the only one capable of giving Mo Nian a beating and scolding him. It's probably those cowards from the ancient family alliance. I don't know what's gotten into them, but they've been surveilling us. We have no choice but to be on guard, answered Mo. Let's not talk about that. Child, it's been a long time. When we get a chance, we should have a proper drink. Mo was delighted to see Long Chen. It could be said that he had watched Long Chen and Mo Nian grow up. When Long Chen had shared the celestial inheritance with Mo Nian, he had essentially allowed Mo Nian to become a mutated celestial capable of reaching the peak. It could be said that Mo Nian owed some thanks to Long Chen, but as brothers, his thanks were not expressed through words. Otherwise, that would be diminishing their relationship. The drinks will have to wait. I came to see Mo Nian. Has he woken up yet? Asked Long Chen. I don't know what happened to Nian. Even after so long, he's still in the netherworld. But his soul star is still present, said Mo worriedly. Mo Nian was currently the pillar of the Mo family. He was needed to take charge. Although Mo was able to temporarily take his place as his elder, as time passed, that would become unacceptable. Although the current Mo family looked unified and calmly ready to face their enemies, they were all anxious. I'll bring you over and see if you can help him at all. Mo quickly led Long Chen to the rear mountains. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.